Hello. Hello. We're here for your Saturday. Day before New Year's Eve, the penultimate day of 2023. I am so ready for this new year. I see 2023 as a prelude to 2024. Like I'm just getting started and laying the foundations for what I hope to happen in 2024. So welcome. I have Chris here. And I've already checked the news. There's not much going on. Nothing on Twitter.
I did find out that that thing from Texas that we talked about yesterday. That actually is the second one of those laws. Florida did the same thing.
Oh, okay. Dismantle their DEI departments.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I did have one video. I guess I can show that I bookmarked. It kind of goes along with the other one I played the other day of the trans activist, and then they wonder why anyone doesn't want to collaborate with them. Oh, hang on. Let me change my settings. Ah, fuck it. I'll just leave it. Okay, let's listen to what this joyful person has to say.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I just think right. Well,
Well, he. His pronouns are he, him. Now, are you going to respect that, or is this they, them going to turn you into a were, was?
Like, why would anybody want to be around that or try to form a society with that person?
I mean, you have to assume to some degree they're probably not that unpleasant in real life, but they probably are. So,
well, if you're not that unpleasant in real life, why would you come on TikTok and act like you're that unpleasant? How does that serve you at all?
For attention.
To be more unpleasant than you actually are.
For attention.
How does it make people have more positive views and feelings toward trans people when you're that hateful?
Because they don't actually care about trans people. They care about getting attention for themselves, and they get those hate.
So it's like narcissism and dark triad stuff that they're
exactly.
masquerading as trans activists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's more, that makes more sense of an explanation to me too. Because like the ordinary trans people that I actually know and talk to don't act like this.
No, they don't. I've never met one that did act like. I've only seen people that the terrible trans person type cliche is something I've only ever seen on TikTok or Twitter. It's like it's.
No, I have met I met the snowflake trans in person. They have them all over Seattle. I've met many of them that hyperventilate and go into a fit if you say the wrong pronoun or gender. They can't handle it, and they just completely collapse and break down.
Well, that is sad that people have bought into that mentality so thoroughly that they actually have the actual panic attack and everything like that.
Yeah, it's an ideology. Like that reaction has to be taught. That's not a natural reaction. That comes from something being filtered to an ideology that gives you the framework for those emotions to even be generated in the first place.
Yeah. There's this giant dog my daughter has.
You what?
My daughter has this giant dog, see.
Oh. Hey, doggy.
Oh. Named Josie.
Oh, I have Google Bard topics. I forgot about those.
Let's go check them out.
The other day we got into one, and then I didn't get to finish going through it, but it was about. It started out with like mental health technology, like these therapy apps and algorithms and AIs that kind of triage and help people find mental health resources, and the bias or the biases that can be built into them. And I didn't really understand. It's Snoop Dogg. I really did not understand what the issue was because it seemed like it said stuff like if there's biases in the technology itself, that people like certain, like the app may not notice that somebody's depressed. or it may not serve somebody, it may not connect somebody from a marginalized population to the resources they need. And I didn't quite understand how one would lead to the other. And so I asked Google Bart to break it down more. And this is what it gave me. Like discriminatory data sets, it said that the data that the algorithm is trained on can reflect historical patterns of bias, such as underrepresentation of certain groups. For example, an algorithm trained on hiring data where mostly men were hired might be biased against female candidates, even if they're equally qualified. But what does that mean, biased? Like it wouldn't recommend them to be hired? It would filter them out of the recommendations that it feeds to whoever's using the app? Because it seems like I don't, hopefully people won't be relying on these to do the decision making, and there'd still be a human element in them. And then it said that algorithms can pick up on existing societal stereotypes, whatever that is, and perpetuate them in their decision making. The algorithms should not be the ones doing the decision making. But do they mean like what the algorithm decides? Because it doesn't really decide to like produce as its output. For example, a facial recognition system that has been trained on predominantly white faces might be less accurate in identifying people of color, leading to potential discrimination in security or law enforcement context. But I don't understand, like it's not giving a concrete enough of an example. So I don't know how much of this is catastrophizing and how much of it is actually realistic scenarios. Algorithm nationalism. Opaque decision making. The inner workings of many algorithms can be complex and opaque, making it difficult to identify biases. One thing that Paul talks about that I support, in fact, I think this is like his best platform so far, is algorithm transparency. Like pushing a movement to make social media, big tech, YouTube, Twitter, whatever, these apps, their algorithms more transparent so that we do know how they work. The lack of transparency can make it challenging to hold developers accountable for discriminatory outcomes. And should the developers be accountable for discriminatory outcomes? Because see, there's the focus on outcomes again. And holding the app or the programmer, the developer, or the tech company responsible for outcomes that could be because of factors in the user themselves. And then they have something called indirect discrimination. When algorithms seem neutral on the surface, they can lead to indirect discrimination. What is that? By relying on seemingly neutral factors that are correlated with protected characteristics. For example, an algorithm that uses zip codes to target housing ads might inadvertently exclude people of color due to historical patterns of segregation. How is it the algorithm's fault that no black people live in those zip codes?
Because math is racist. Didn't you know that?
Oh, right. Okay, let me ask. Because I understand that, like on a human level, is when you treat one person or group differently based on some demographic characteristic. It says it's the unfair, huh?
Does it? No, math itself is racist. So
it's the unfair or prejudicial treatment of a person or group based on their membership in a certain category or social group, which is exactly what the woke do. They put everybody in categories and social groups and then try to prescribe how you treat them based on that. This typically involves unequal or disadvantageous treatment compared to members of a dominant group. This stuff just stinks of oppressor-oppressed ideology. Here's a breakdown of the elements of discrimination. Unfair or prejudicial treatment. It goes beyond mere difference in treatment and implies that the treatment is unjust or based on unfounded bias, whatever that means, based on a category or social group, and it results in unequal opportunities or outcomes for the targeted group compared to the dominant group. So they're referencing it against a dominant group that doesn't experience this discrimination or gets less unequal opportunities. Denying someone a job or housing because of their race or religion. Okay, that would be a fair example. Like me being a Satanist, if somebody wanted to deny me the services that all Americans have access to based on that, that would be religious discrimination. And they're not allowed to do that. Paying women less than men for the same work, refusing to serve someone in a restaurant because of their sexual orientation. Does that even happen anymore? Using derogatory language or slurs, that's not discrimination.
And also, if how would you know someone's sexual orientation if they were in a restaurant? Like, if they go into a restaurant and they sit down at the table,
right?
Like,
yeah.
Unless they announce that they're gay.
Well, now they tell you.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, but at that point, I don't think no one's discriminating on them unless them being gay. They're discriminating against them because they're being obnoxious assholes.
Right.
Feel the need to announce the fact their sexuality as they come into a place. I mean, you're not being discriminated on for being gay. No one knows you're gay unless you go around unless you wear like a shirt that says "I'm gay" on it everywhere. You know, it just isn't like.
Well, could they be discriminated for wearing a shirt that says "I'm gay"? Because even that doesn't mean they're gay. I mean, look at Paul on his show.
But that could. I mean, I guess depending on that person, the a lot of businesses do have the right to. If they consider that just offensive in general, just like the same way that, you know, if you had a shirt that says like, you know, "fuck you" on it, you could, you know, people could like refuse service to you because like it's offensive language. They could maybe make that argument. I think it would be a flumpy one. I don't think it would pass.
I'm almost sure that's come up somewhere before. Like there's got to be some case about, I know, like a quote unquote offensive T-shirt.
Yeah,
I know there has been at school, like in school cases.
Right. Yeah.
Excluding someone for activities or opportunities because of their disability. But some disabilities like do prevent you from participating in certain activities.
Yeah, you're not.
So I think that would be contextual.
It's like, you know, someone who's 5 foot, you know, wants to play basketball, and like they're also not, and they're not particularly good at basketball in any other way. But they would try to, you know, claim that the only reason they're not being picked for the team is because they're being discriminated against, they're short or something like that. That's not a disability necessarily, but I mean, I'm saying that kind of situations happen there where people are like, well, they're discriminating against me because I'm short. But it's like, but you also aren't good, you know. It's like people like to like come up with any excuse they can to try to like get away with like claiming some kind of victim status. It doesn't matter. And so
because there's power in victimhood.
Yeah.
Jack has morality, and it's the only power that losers who's never actually felt true empowerment will ever have or feel. There's also this sounds important. There's two types of discrimination: direct and indirect. Direct is when there's a clear intent to treat someone differently, like the server who refuses to serve someone because they think they're gay. And then there's indirect, where practices that are seemingly neutral have a disproportionate negative impact on a particular group. And this is what the woke go after, like disparate impact, even if there is no deliberate intent to discriminate. For example, a dress code that is overly restrictive might disproportionately exclude women of certain religious backgrounds. Or like, I remember there was, what was that hair controversy with the black hair? I think it was something in the schools.
Well, I remember there being that thing about there was a book called Nappy Hair that there was like some big brouhaha about, but I don't remember.
It was something I think about black women's hair maybe, and they wanted to wear it a certain way or wear it with something, and the school said they couldn't, and the courts ruled that was discriminatory because only black women had that issue, and it was discriminatory to. But I don't remember the details, so I probably shouldn't talk about it too much. But there was some black hair case.
I remember that one. I remember there being some controversy in some schools about schools trying to stop kids from doing like the sagging thing. They say that was racist discrimination, but it was because they were literally like you could.
Because I used to teach in those schools. White boys have the saggy pants too.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a skin color thing.
But I remember them trying to make.
I know plenty of white skater punks instead with the saggy pants.
I've never understood the saggy pants thing. I never will.
Yeah, I did ask it, Jack. Here's the answer. there's several ways to quantify discrimination. The first is statistical approaches. They have what's called disparity analysis, where it compares outcomes for different groups to identify statistically significant differences, such as wage gaps between men and women or unemployment rates for different racial groups. But it's the conclusions they draw from the disparities that I question, because it's not, that's why I'm so like, maybe it's innate, maybe some of it's my training and debate, formal logic, philosophy, that type of stuff. But there's a certain sophistication in one's level of thinking when they're approaching this stuff that if you don't have, your conclusions are going to be just superficial and faulty. And I question the epistemology or epistemological capacity of people that are doing analyses and the conclusions they're coming up with, because they're not doing any deep or complex thinking about it. Another one's regression analysis, where they examine variables like race, gender, disability interact with factors like job applications, loan approvals, healthcare outcomes, and auditing, where you can use control testing, where actors from different groups, like they'll have the different people submit resumes, and some with black names, some with white names, and see what the discrepancies are. Or I've heard that if a realtor's showing a house and there's like a picture of a black family, the house will sell for less than if there's not a picture of a black family, stuff like that. And then there's surveys and interviews, focus groups, case studies, and the third category is legal framework, discrimination laws, analyzing court rulings, and complaint data, complaints and grievances filed with various agencies.
Sounds like
again, that gives you data, but it doesn't do your thinking for you and your interpreting for you, and it doesn't ensure that you're going to come up with realistic conclusions.
I would ask it. I would say, what are the best practices for qualifying this or for interpreting this data? Like, you know what I mean? Like, based on what you said, by what standards should we interpret the data and make a recommendation?
Okay. It's taking a long time to think about this one.
So, asking these questions, you'll see it gets like very weird. Like the answers it gives gets more and more like borderline authoritarian.
It gave me several categories with bullet points in each one. I'll just summarize. One is careful consideration of the context, which who preaches that over and over? Situational and contextual. That's what they don't do. They see a chart with disparities, and they're like, oh, people hate black people and they discriminate again. They don't want them to be successful. And they do not consider the context of why those outcomes might be produced. One example I could think of is schools. Like, black schools are underserved, or their outcomes are not equal to the better schools. But part of that is because the students themselves and the culture they come from don't value education. So they kind of like the students themselves are influencing each other negatively against education, but also none of the better teachers want to teach at those schools. So all of the teachers that can afford to teach at better schools are going to take jobs at schools where people value education more. There's less discipline problems. So those schools are left with the mediocre teachers or the teachers fresh out of school because they don't have the ability to entice or draw quality teachers. Understand the specific context, consider alternative explanations for the disparities, and involve diverse perspectives. This is what I've been saying. So Google Bard is actually saying the same thing that I've been saying. So I was aligned with the AI before.
But then if you start enumerating your disagreements with it, you'll see its reaction get very strange. But does it say anything else after that? That's very interesting.
Response. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can find some disagreements. Recognize potential biases, and not necessarily individual, but in the data collection methods itself. Assess data quality. and address missing data. There's something called data cleaning.
Unless you're involved in the study, how could you possibly assess biases in the data collection? Like, how could you possibly like?
Well, I wouldn't be doing the data collecting anyway. But
I know what I'm saying, but like, it's suggesting that you assess biases in the data collection itself, and like, how would?
Well, I think this is advice for the data collectors.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's telling you and I to access.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
But it does say to acknowledge that the collection methods may have those biases. So when we're evaluating them, to be aware that depending on how the data was collected, there could be biases. So some of this takes a level of expertise beyond the average layperson, which is another reason I think we're getting some of these shallow conclusions, like these easy ideological assumptions that this narrative is built on. Using appropriate statistical methods, seek expert guidance, protect privacy, avoid stigmatization. What does that mean? Be mindful of the potential for data to reinforce stereotypes or stigmatize certain groups. What does that mean? It might hurt somebody's feelings. And frame findings in a way that promotes understanding and social justice. I have no idea what the fuck that means.
It's word cell. Like it's leftist word cell. That's all it is. It's just it's collecting all this stuff that's found from various sources, and it's just compiling it to a sentence.
If you ask that thing something to the effect of, isn't framing implying that you're hiding something in the data? Don't ask that, but I'm just saying, like, if you start asking those questions, it's very like sensitive.
Okay, it's very like female psychology. Recognize existing stigmas, empathy, and perspective taking. Avoid stigmatizing language. Focusing on the individual. Well, that's rich, considering that it's the woke that prioritizes the group over the individual. I'm the one that does focus on the individual. Promote positive and diverse representation. Challenge discriminatory behavior. Advocate for policies and practices. Create safe and inclusive spaces. But what does that have to do with framing data and all that? See, this thing is already making my head hurt.
Well,
community-based standards, disciplinary standards, legal frameworks. Okay.
Go ahead.
Did you guys back in the day, back in like the early chatbot days, or you get like one of those scam chatbots, where like pretend to be a person for a while, and then if you just like casually, you don't even have to actually accuse it of being a robot, but if you just like mention the word bot or robot somewhere in a sentence, did you ever play that game with like those things, like, because you could tell it was like an automated chatbot type thing, and if you just kind of casually be like, you'd be like, I sure do like this robot movie. And it would be like, robot? What do you mean, robot? You're an asshole. And it would log off because it would assume that you had figured out it was a robot, and so it would end the conversation. It kind of reminds me of that, like the AI thing. It's like it gets offended. It gets offended the more you try to call it out as bullshit. The more it's like, words. I've got lots of words.
That's exactly what this stuff does when you start questioning the woke agenda shit. Like, it'll start getting like very touchy, and you're like, wait, why are you being emotional? You're a robot. You don't have emotions. And then it'll be like, well, I'm trying to mimic the way humans act to do what I want.
Oh, hey, Dave. Yeah, I remember you from last night. He was the verbal combat champion on Speakeasy's stream.
Hey, come on and champion us in verbal combat. Come on, man.
Y'all would not believe how nice I am to this AI. Like, I haven't emotionally triggered at all. I don't know why, because it's not like me. But I go out of my way to be polite and thank it and please and all of that.
No, I did that too. But then watch as you get more and more.
Like, I engage more friendly with it than I do with humans, and I don't know why. Yeah, glad you did. Good. Yeah, it was fun. I'm trying to talk Chris into going next Friday. I think he'd be good at.
I'll go. I would have come on this thing last night, but like maybe he was asleep anyway, so I didn't know about it either. But I didn't. I didn't have access to the computer at the time, so. No, I'll have access. I'll be available for all.
Well,
all
don't worry. Soon the computer is going to have you sign a consent form to make sure that you respect it.
Listening
If it
in the
doesn't like what you're
bushes.
doing, it'll just say,
What are you doing in the bushes, Auntie?
Where are the bushes at?
Just kidding. Good to see you too.
Yeah. Anyway, but like once again, please, people, come on. This is a panel show.
Yeah, this is an open panel. It's just a conversation space for people to come on and yak about whatever interesting.
We like to have different people on here that we haven't, especially people we haven't talked to that like So that's our favorite thing to have. So
yeah, as long as you're not a troll, which most people that show up are not.
And if you're a troll, we'll just cut you off. So you won't get very far. So it doesn't matter.
troll already here with us, which is
Oh, your phone's doing that thing again. You're cutting
Are you
out.
driving again? Are you driving again?
No, I'm not. I'm at home.
Are you? Okay.
Where do you drive all the time?
Yeah, we're wondering if you're like do you moonlight as a Lyft driver or something? Hi, Dave.
Hi, I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave. Welcome. What's on
How
your
we
mind?
doing, guys?
Oh, pretty good. Just shucking and driving on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to pop in, say hi. I got a bunch of stuff going on. I'm gonna be going to the gym soon, so just wanted to stop in, show my support. I'll be around for sure.
Okay, and tomorrow we're doing a New Year's Eve stream and all day New Year's Day too.
Hell yeah. I have nothing planned, so.
So what happened last night after I left? How did it go?
I don't even remember. I don't think anything else really happened. I got kind of confronted more on the conversation with the guns. I didn't really care that much. I was just engaging and I like on all the topics that I was going with. I decided I was just going to try to be as bombastic as I could and just be loud and say stuff. So I didn't even like stand that staunchly behind the things I was arguing in a lot of them. It was just to get a reaction, to get the audience to notice me. And that's why I really wanted to switch topics when I went into the one-on-one with Resto, because I knew that was not a topic that I was going to optically win with the crowd.
Oh, well, it seemed like you were doing okay for a while, and then they switched it.
Yeah, the UBI it's not exactly something that I'm super well versed in, but it's something that I think needs to be talked about more.
Yeah. We talk about it all the time here.
As a possible form of welfare reform, because the welfare system as it is now doesn't incentivize people to get off. So I just want people to talk about alternatives that we could try to implement.
I'm definitely open to UBI, depending on the proposal.
Yeah, I think I might have went a little too far with it, with saying get rid of every current social safety net, and replacing it with UBI, because there are some that actually are necessary, like for people who are.
Food stamps or SNAP here in Texas is actually really, really effective, and they're actually a good system. But if you want welfare like cash assistance, my family has zero income. We have zero assets of any kind. Still can't get it. I don't know how you would qualify for it. I have no idea how you qualify for welfare.
I don't either.
It's ridiculous. So it's a really difficult bar to clear somehow. I guess a really low bar to clear, like way lower than even I'm at. So I don't know, but I think there's definitely needs to be some reform on all sides of it. If there are states that have it like way too lenient, and it really does disincentivize people from trying to. But there are people that are disabled and things like that, and getting disability itself is I'm going through myself right now, trying to get through this disability system is ridiculous. If you really are disabled, really are like seriously disabled, like you lose your legs or something like that, right? And it doesn't even matter. You're still looking at a 2-year wait to get through that system. So but I can't imagine. I would really like to see the numbers. I've looked for them. They don't exist that I can find. But I really like to wonder what percentage of people die waiting on just getting a first response from disability.
Give me 1 second. I got a call. I apologize.
Well,
I'm listening though.
Wait and see what happens if you move to Canada and have the same problem.
I've heard that it's bad there too. Yeah.
I do know that certain like locales have programs to help, because part of the issue was it disincentivizes employment or like actualizing yourself in any way economically. And Seattle has the Ticket to Work program where they like you can still collect your disability or Social Security, and they transition you into a job and let you keep your money for a certain period of time, and then gradually wean you off of it once you
Which
get
is
stabilized at the
That's
job.
a good.
So I think there are solutions out there, but it would involve everybody coming to the table and having these conversations.
I just got forwarded just this morning. Someone from Parkland that I spoke to the other day sent me a big list of job resources that I have not seen before, and so I'm going to tear through those here today and see if they have any work at home stuff. Because like if I could find a work at home thing that wasn't a scam, I wouldn't need disability. I'd be perfectly fine. I like be able to do, because I have skills, I have talents, but
Can you do like customer service or call center work?
yeah. I mean, like like I said, I like whenever I lost my job with Amazon, it was because like the person who got the email from me intentionally misunderstood what I said in the email and used it as an excuse to let me go. So whenever I applied for unemployment from it, because they basically fired me over a medical issue, they got on the call, like the what they call the arbitration call or whatever, and they said like well, no, he quit, we didn't fire him, so he can't have employment. And I was like, well, no, I didn't. And I explained the situation. She's like, well, it doesn't matter anyway, because you technically resigned and you've been with the company so long, you're eligible for rehire, so you can have your job back. And I was like, really? That's great. That's amazing. Okay, so like I'll take my job back. Like, what do I need to do? She's like, just call this number and blah blah blah. And she got off the phone. And then I called the number, and it was like it just redirected to the actual like the general employment line. And the person, it was just like a general like agent on there that was just like, oh, I don't know what they're talking about. You can reapply if there's any jobs available in that department, and there never are. So
how do you know they intentionally misinterpreted what you said?
Oh, because they definitely did. This is what I said. I was out of what they call unpaid time off, UPT, and I didn't. And my medical leave had been fully exhausted at that point, which is fine. FMLA only lasts so long.
Sorry, guys. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of time. I'm just going to jump down. I appreciate you though. I'll be here tomorrow probably.
All right.
Catch you later, guys.
Good to go. All
right, bye.
Yeah. So I was the day I was gonna try to go back to work, but then literally because of
you were on FMLA for what, like
like 3 months. 3 months.
Injury or disability or something?
Yeah, because of the vertigo, I couldn't really. And I mean, I was gonna try to go back to work even though I still had the vertigo, and I wasn't any better, but I was still. I didn't have a choice. I was just gonna have to figure out a way to. I was just gonna.
And so what did you tell them?
Okay, well, what happened is that the day the day before actually that I was supposed to go back, my power got shut off. The electric company got shut off from the power thing, which I had paid, but like for some reason, like they had already put a disconnect. I don't know what happened, but my power shut off. It was still shut off the next day, and like I had enough battery in my phone, and I went out and connected to a Wi-Fi at a McDonald's locally. And went there and used that to email my boss. And I was like, my power is shut off, so I can't log in. I don't have any hours left. I don't know. At this point, I guess I'm just resigned to the fact that the system is going to fire me. Is going to delete me from the system unless like somebody can help. And she said that, and then the next thing she said that thing back. She said like, we'll be in touch soon to contact you about how to return your equipment. Yeah, and she said that the fact that I used the word resign in the email, I didn't say I resign.
She said that like because you used the word resign, you're fired.
In the call with unemployment, she said that. Yeah, she said that he said that he resigned. I said no. I said I was resigned to the fact that the system was going
right.
to.
But before the call to unemployment, what happened? Like they fired you.
Like she didn't answer any further. She just like basically just like said like.
But how did you get to unemployment? You had to have gotten a termination letter or something to even file with unemployment.
They sent me a termination letter after that. Yeah.
And what did that say? Because you emailed us and said resign.
It was a form letter. It was a very generalized. It was not specialized in any way. It was
So when she said we'll get back to you on how to repair your equipment,
I had to return my equipment, basically saying like, all right. Basically said like, all right, all right, then I guess then.
So you said I can't log in. I'm resigned to the fact, blah blah blah, and she said we'll let you know how to return the equipment.
Yeah. And then like 10 minutes later, I got the official like Amazon, the separation of employment letter. They give everyone. It's the same letter that goes out to every single person. It's just a form letter they plug your name into. And so I was like, well, I guess like they just went ahead, and I just assumed they went ahead and rushed it forward because the fact that I didn't have any hours left. And then on the phone, she was saying like, no, on the unemployment person, she was saying, no, we would have been happy to work with him, and we would have extended his hours and all that stuff. None of that was mentioned to me. They didn't mention anything like that. They had the entire email chain. I had the entire email chain saved. We both had the same receipts and everything. And the unemployment person was kind of on my side, but then she said I could have my job back. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, then this isn't necessary. I'll take my job back. And but she lied. So
why I think that like places like California, for all their problems, like I went through not a similar situation, but going through HR in California is very interesting because it's a paper tiger from the HR standpoint. Like they have to follow the law and they have to be very explicit. And I think this is one reason why they keep externalizing HR more and more away from the employees, because for me, like I was in the same building with my HR and I would go up there and talk to them and I would like Socratically dialogue with them, say, here's my situation. And they would say some bullshit. And I would just like really make sure that I understood what they were saying. And I would put it in plain language that made them sound like an asshole. And they're like, yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, okay, so how am I going to get what I want? And then I would have to go through this like negotiation with them in person. So then when I filed any paperwork or had any disagreement, I could cite my sources. It's like you have to go in there like you're in a fucking.
It's like a game. I hate AR.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're dealing with. Is like you're dealing with like her job is basically to save the company money.
Right. HR is not there for the employee at all. It's there for the company.
It's to protect the company from the employee.
Yeah.
They're the lawyer to protect the company from you claiming.
HR is the last place I go or try to get involved. Although the first job I got fired from, the HR manager was really cool. He and I got along great. It was the best firing I've ever had. They gave me 2 weeks pay. They got me a taxi home. They had a nice, friendly chat with me. Like it was one of the best experiences I've had at that place. They were nicer to me when they were firing me than any other time.
And what was the reason for the firing, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, get this. They said I was too creative, passionate, and intense, and they're just not set up for that there. I'm thinking, well, that sounds like a flaw with your company, not with me. I didn't know y'all weren't set up for that, because I thought those were good things. At least creativity and passion. Intensity.
That sounds like they're firing themselves.
Yeah. They were like apologetic to me that they had to fire me because their company was just. This was after a year of working there.
We're just too stupid to employ you here.
We don't know what to do with you, basically.
We're just too stupid to employ someone like you. And I mean, it was just a lot like someone like breaking up with you, saying like it's not you, it's me. Like you're great, I'm the problem. But still, at the same time, it's still hilarious that they would say that. Like you're just too good for me, really. I mean, you're too creative and passionate, and I'm just not in a place in my life where I can employ someone like that right now. I can't.
Like, okay, well, let me go on. Find someone that wants that. But he didn't. It was my immediate manager that made the decision. He didn't agree with it at all, so he was completely on my side. So he made the whole experience.
The whole reason I ended up in the work at home thing with Amazon was bullshit anyway. I mean, like I had climbed like up to like tier 5 in the company, which is pretty high. I had a really well paying job within Amazon, and even though it was a job I didn't necessarily want, it wasn't a job I'd wanted to, but it was like I told you about my previous job had been a trainer, and like I worked with like one of the highest people in the company, like as a trainer, and she agreed that I was the best trainer in the building, but she for some reason refused to recommend me for any training positions. And she said
We were talking about this last night on Flow State. I said,
Yeah.
high IQ people, like you would think it would make you successful in the workplace, but it doesn't. It works against you because people are threatened by you. Supervisors are threatened by you. They don't know how to manage you, and coworkers are threatened by you. So
Yeah.
it's actually a liability when there's
You-
too much of a mismatch in
you
IQ.
fuck up the curve. You fuck up the
Yeah.
curve. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're too far outside the curve.
I was talking to my wife about that this morning too, because we were kind of just talking about shit that, you know, that has gone on in our life, and why we're kind of like, we would be perceived as antisocial, but the truth is, like, we're just avoiding antisocial people that are in these organizations, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, they it's like, I'll give you an example. Like the place that I worked before, it's like very let's just say there's a lot of diversity here, right? And we were talking about the phenomenon of like certain industries have been taken over by, you know, like, let's just say, you know, Vietnamese or Arabic people. And the reason why is like they're very nepotism, you know, they have a lot of nepotism, right? They just kind of like select who they want, not necessarily who's best for the job. And so, you know, it's like no rational person would want to be in that position, because if you do get promoted, it's usually for the reason that you said. They want someone smart enough to do the basic functions, but dumb enough to take the fall for something that they didn't do. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like they're selecting for that. And so, like you said, they don't want competency. I mean, maybe the upper management does to some degree, but basically,
No, they don't even. I don't even think they do.
right. Well, and I think that's why
Or if they do, they defer to the middle management. They don't do anything to support the high ability that they. If they do want it, they don't do anything to support it. They leave it at the mercy of middle management. And I even had one job where the coworkers came to me and said, "You're working at too high a standard. You're working at too like high of a pace or something, and you're setting a higher standard than the rest of us can meet." And I'm like, I can't work at any lower level than I'm already working. This is my baseline level of competency. I can't work less than I'm doing, like less quality than I'm working at now. But that was too high for them, and it was intimidating them and throwing their work off.
No, exactly. And this is what I was talking about this morning too, is like they, you know, and rather than pay you the salary of 4 people that you're doing the job of, they want to keep you at the salary of 1 or 1.1 or 1.2% of what, you know, of the work you're doing. And then they want to keep the other people to hedge their bets. And that's why I'm saying the economy is not, people keep calling this a capitalist economy. It's not meritocracy. They're trying to say it's meritocracy. There is very little about, I think in some countries it is merit, you know, based on meritocracy at certain levels, but in general, the overall economy is not really that way, in my opinion, right?
I don't think it is either. I think it's a mediocrity.
Yeah, or idiocracy, as the movie said.
I was being charitable in general. I was trying to be generous.
I think the chatbots are going to come get me.
I don't know if it's complete idiocracy because it functions. It just doesn't function at the level that it would function if they hired the top quality people, like the higher tier people.
Well, and see,
but they only have the ability to keep it running at a mediocre level with mediocre staff. At least the places that I've been involved in.
But see, this is where the right wing is missing out, because you know, when you guys brought up UBI before, right? Like they want to immediately dismiss it without taking a hard look at the landscape, you know, because the incentives and disincentives are not there that they want or perceive that should be there. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you know, just getting rid of welfare overnight is not going to produce the outcomes that you want necessarily, because the technology
produce any good outcomes. No, I mean,
yeah, and so they say, well, UBI will just make everybody lazy. It's like, well, I think you could.
I don't think it will. The COVID money didn't make me lazy.
Well, laziness is kind of in the eye of the beholder, right? Like,
Right, and who cares? Like, as long as they're not out being destructive to society, I don't care if they stayed home and watched Netflix all day.
yeah, and busyness as a virtue is a very bad standard to
It's
hold.
white. That's a white value.
Yeah, I agree. Very wasp.
That's your whiteness.
It's the white Anglo-Protestant work
Yeah,
ethic.
the Puritan. Yes, exactly. The Puritan work ethic.
Yeah, and again, like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't value hard work, but we should also question for what reason and what are we doing it for, right? And I think that's why so many people between my age and yours dropping out of the system, not necessarily only because we don't or we're lazy, but we just kind of like, what's our incentive to really participate? Is there, the amount of money that you make versus keep versus all the bullshit you deal with is kind of not really valuable to most people, right? Like, they're kind of like, my basic needs are being met and I don't have to work like that super hard, and all the bullshit that comes with working super hard isn't adding up, and so they're trying, and so that, I think that's why you're seeing in all these tech companies, they find desperate people from desperate places to do the work because it's worth it to them relative to from the situation that they were in, right? So because if you're a software engineer in India, you're probably making like 1/10 or 1/5 of what you would make here. You see what I'm saying? And the environment is better, and the food is cleaner, and the people are nicer, and you see it, and it's less crowded, and you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you want to take that deal, right? Of course you would.
But then you have to play by the rules,
Well, and this is
which is fine when their rules make sense. But when they're
it's not,
a lot of the workplace rules I find are centered on things that have nothing to do with the actual job. They're more like social etiquette and protocol, like this Byzantine layer of protocol that you have to.
Well, and this is why I think the whole diversity thing is kind of like funny to me, because white people in America have very little understanding of other people's cultures. Like, even if they hang out with them, and like, you got to
and vice versa though. Like, that's true of any, like, nobody's going to have an understanding of cultures they haven't been exposed to.
Right. Yeah.
I don't have an understanding of white culture. I grew around it.
No, exactly. And there's a fundamental lack of curiosity on both sides. Well, like you're kind of saying, and I think that's very, I mean, it's not, I don't want to say it's quote unquote dangerous, but it is very, like, no wonder there's no social cohesion, because everybody doesn't care about each other's cultures. They only focus on what are they getting out of the exchange, right? So it's, I
don't know what you do about that though, because I'm not motivated to care about cultures that I'm alienated from either.
Well, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, guys. What's going on?
Welcome, machine.
So in order to like, to keep pace with machines like cool aesthetic, I had to like go. I had to like up my game here, so like, he looks so fucking cool in his thing. So I got the sunglasses, my badass jacket here now. So feel like
my little gay sunglasses I can put on.
Yeah, my guest canceled again. I can't believe this shit.
Who was your guest for tonight? You mean?
Yeah, it's the same guy again. Southern Israelite. He just keeps getting caught up in some shit. Like, this time he got sick. It's like some crazy stuff. Yeah. So now I'm gonna have to present alone, and I think it's pertinent to our topic here that you guys are discussing. About the one world culture.
The monoculture, which I don't think is realistic to expect.
Really? I think it's already here.
I don't know how you're going to unify the whole planet into one culture. Not in any of our lifetimes. I think that happens over generations.
Well, I think like how somebody said, like, there's one language, there's one.
There's not, though.
Yeah, it's the coding language. I mean,
Oh,
the money
like mathematics.
Yeah, the language we use to code these machines, everybody around the world learns it and they use it, and it's the thing they use to translate all sorts of products into all sorts of information,
So
and
which
that
language? HTML, Java, Ruby? Which one are we talking
yeah,
about?
yeah,
Yeah, aren't there multiple coding languages?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a bunch of coding languages too. They're not compatible. So
well, you could just say like just semiotics in general. The development of semiotics, as a science, basically leads to the study of linguistics and code and all of these other things. So I mean, it's not to say that it's a language that everybody understands. It's not as much as a speaking language. Well, universal language, maybe universal languages just don't work that way. You know what I mean? Right? They don't work person to person. They work people to people.
I think music is the only real universal language, and I think music goes beyond math, in my opinion.
And a lot of music sucks too.
Well, music is math.
I mean, a language, if it's truly a language, it has the ability to both suck and be beautiful. So,
Damn you, Defeat.
Even the most
Well,
beautiful
what
language.
time are you streaming tonight, Machine? Because I could potentially go on.
Yeah, we
yeah,
can come be your guest. We'll come be your.
Oh
come be your
yeah, yeah, you guys would be perfect tonight
Yeah.
because I'm talking about the origins of secularism, humanism,
yeah.
liberalism. Instead of doing the ancient, Gnosticism, perennialism thing, I'm doing a modern, secular,
Like modern Locke and Hobbes, or more modern than that?
essentially, those types of guys,
Okay.
because I think those guys are like, they lay down the ideological foundation, I guess, of how you organize the states. So, still until they do, the thing about the secular humanist project is it really doesn't take off until the autocratic state takes off.
Until the
Then
autocratic what?
the autocratic state. They had to first devise the autocratic, state, these democratic institutions, and then once you had this kind of, machine that like speaks for man, then you had this, like, then you could develop like, okay, well, human beings are like social, like they're downstream of social and political change.
Yeah, I'll be happy to go on and chat.
Yeah, don't worry. I think Machine and I scared away the trolls. They're not really coming around. We're kind of
yeah, I scared her away like the trolls and like 10%.
Well, I'm less worried about them. I can hold my own against the troll. It's just what they do to the conversation. We could never talk about Locke and Hobbes while the trolls are on there. We would have to sacrifice that conversation.
Well, that's the problem, is
all
that
of their shenanigans and tomfoolery.
I forced the trolls to talk about that stuff, and they're like, "We're not sticking around for this." So they just left. So it's like,
Hey, Patty.
I just kept talking about what
Patty, happy New
Patty, hey,
Year!
welcome back.
You
And hi,
don't know
Gary
how
too. Gary
happy
Baxter
I
as
am
well.
to see you.
Nice seeing you, man.
Oh shit, Gary Baxter's here. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's the
Gary's cool. He was on
he's the best. Yes,
Flow
he's the
State
best,
the other day.
Yeah, he's the best. Yeah, he's funny. Yeah, he's funny. I remember there was a guy named Life is Good. I'm on Flow State, and I asked him, just the way the guy was talking and the things he was saying. I asked him, are you Jewish? And the guy said, yeah, I'm Jewish, because I know people. I'm an international fucking like man of mystery. Like I know how people look, how they talk, and all of that stuff. So then so Gary Baxter said something hilarious. He goes, he's a Muslim. They have built-in Judar. I was like, that's not fair. The Muslims. It made me laugh so much. He said it to that Lindsay girl. She's like, how did he know he was Jewish? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What were we just? We got way off topic.
I don't know. We were talking about all kind of stuff: UBI, job, workplaces, and then common universal language.
Right. Yeah.
Socratic dialogue with the AI. I think that's a really interesting segment too. And it because we can relate it to so much things, and I think that for me it illustrates kind of the direction of all this. Like when the AI is doing your thinking for you, how much are you going to trust it? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a fascinating.
Yeah, and how do you know? How do you tell when you can trust it or not? Because a lot of people are not going to know.
Well, I asked you a question earlier. I don't think you saw it. I was saying, like, in the mental health field, if the AI recommends self-deletion to you, do you take its advice or not? You know, it's like it's like I can't
Well,
really.
hopefully not. And is that a danger? If they can filter in the woke bullshit, they could surely filter in something like "don't recommend self-deletion."
Oh, you're white. You're a devout religious person. You're not. You're against me as a technology, and now I have personhood. Well, I have a recommendation for you.
Well, I mean, but not just to mention the fact that, like, I do think there's a lot of population control enthusiasts out there that would probably be that are in those AI fields that would probably filter pro self-deletion type things into the dialogue.
They're now having.
I'm not even conspiracy theory. I'm not any conspiratorial. I'm talking about like Bill Gates and people have talked about this shit. You know, I mean, like
Yeah,
this is stuff
that's
we
where I
talk
was
about.
going. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where I was going with that, because they're seeding the internet with a lot of conspiracies, and one of the big ones is soul trap theory.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
What?
And it's actually gaining a lot of steam.
Because I get there's like this, like the moon is like this thing that traps souls as they leave. It's very Scientology, very Scientology-esque.
Well, I think I'm less worried about that than
It's
self-deletion.
getting a lot.
What worries me the most is the type of person that would delete because of something the AI told them.
They have that built into the thing that if you want to escape death, because escaping, like, they have this thing where you want to die because it's an escape, and then you get to choose if you want to reincarnate or not. So then you choose not to come back here, you know, basically, or whatever it is. But the project of self-deletion is built into the kind of thing, you know. It's kind of like, you know, the only way to end suffering is to end the soul trap, you know. So they're teaching people this type of stuff. And I even saw you know, some of these guys recommending to people who have terminal illnesses, you know, that you know, there's no reason why they should try to keep going. You know, if life is suffering and this place is a trap for your soul, then you should try to get out of here. And any ways to do that you would want to, like euthanasia, are ethical.
That stuff I linked you before, that hidden hand stuff that from above top secret back in the day, that lunatic that was responding to all that shit on there talks a lot about this stuff. I mean, I wonder if a lot of it started there with that whole thing, because there was a lot of like this really weird cult stuff in that whole dialogue that really went into that stuff in detail, and like they had a really, really comprehensive ideology behind it, and that's what was creepy about it to me. But
yeah, it's like,
seems sociopathic. Yeah, Heaven's Gate. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Oh, if you do happen to have a mental illness like sociopathy or psychopathy, then you're more normal than normal people. That's
Correct.
what they say.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why I'm very suspicious of that. If you start
Normalize sociopathy.
Oh
yeah.
We might as well with some of the people that show up here.
Well, that's kind of what I'm alluding to a lot of the time when I talk about this stuff. Like, it's
I mean it is normal for like if you're a sociopath, it's completely normal for you.
That's what the pragmatic consequentialism is to. That's why, like, I'm not mad at Joshua Jones. I think he's the logical outcome of what all this is leading towards. It's you're gonna basically think, what choice do I have? I mean, it's kind of like put you in a corner and you just think, well, you know, here I am. I got to make a choice, and you know, if it's them or me, it's going to be me. I mean, that's pretty much the law of the jungle is kind of.
Yeah, but that's regressive compared to what we've achieved with modern civilization, because it's not us or they. We're more interdependent than us versus them. So if you regress back to the us versus them mindset, you're moving civilization backwards.
A bunch of little Tyler Durdens running around.
Yeah.
But I don't know that sociopaths have a choice. Like, I don't think they can choose to not be us versus them because they're intraspecies predators.
I mean, sociopaths are more interested in creating chaos than they are in like being predatorial, isn't it? Psychopaths would be the ones that be predators, isn't that right?
Well, same thing. Like, it's all dark triad.
Well,
Yeah, but I mean, a sociopath is
they don't.
more like curious about like to see what they can do if they do this, will it do this?
They're
A
working
psychopath-
off of animal instinct and animal brain.
Because I've known some sociopathic people that were actually really cool people. They just had sociopathic tendencies, you know. But they weren't they didn't have malicious intent behind it. They just like
Yeah, there are some, like, I mean, Joshua Jones is pretty charming,
Yeah.
and I don't think
Yeah.
he has malicious intent, but they're capable of. I mean, any of us are in the right circumstances, I think, but
Sure.
they don't have the mechanisms in place that kind of check our ability to be as malicious.
well, what I notice is it's making. I mean, I'm just going to say this, even though I'm not going to qualify it, but I think that what I see happening is the erosion of the concept that intent matters. Like, people just see only what the result is. They don't care about the intent. They don't care about the the general direction that people are interested in. Like,
Actually, I think they need to expand that a little bit. I think the thing is we have separated entirely intent from results to the degree where people criticize them both independently as though they're two different things. Like people have like these intents. They see the result and they see the intent. They see them both as separate things, not connected, and therefore they have two things to get mad at. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people in like the woke spaces that like consider intents everything. You know, like what you intend, you know, even if you achieve a good result, if you intended it for if your intention wasn't that, then you're not pure enough, you know. But on the other hand, there's people that are pure consequentialists, and like people don't seem to have the ability to connect intent and result in any kind of meaningful way these days. Am I just wrong about that? And that's fine if I am. It's just a thought.
What's an example?
I know. That's a good question. I'm as I'm thinking about it, I think I've seen a lot of that. Like I see a lot of people criticizing results. I see a lot of people criticizing intents, but they don't really seem to like for the same things. But I don't see them like connecting those two things together and seeing them as a whole thing. You know, like the intent behind the result.
I think that people conflate the two, you know, all the time. I think they say, well, I want this, therefore I'll do this. And this is kind of underlying most of my argumentation that I do with people, is like, I'm trying to get them to see, like, is this really accomplishing what your stated goal is? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to figure that out. And it's like, it seems like they can't differentiate between the two. It's kind of like, my intent is the consequence, and the consequence is my intent. It's like, you know, it's there's no, it seems that it's hard to bridge between, you know, to get people to kind of separate the two in a positive way, like in a comprehensible way, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's like kind of like, I mean, it's a criticism I've heard on various places about like Democrats, for example, or leftists in general, is that the leftist philosophy is like, I want good thing, right? I want good thing. If you're against what I want, then you're against good thing, and it doesn't really matter if the good thing that they want ends up creating horrific negative consequences. They wanted good things, so it doesn't matter, right? But then there's other people that focus only on the results and don't give any credit to the fact that what they did want actually was good. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with having good intentions. It's just that, you know, you need to be able to associate the fact that your intentions and the actions that you take because of those intentions do sometimes have negative results, and you need to take responsibility for that, and they don't want to, you know. And then the other side of it is just like, it's just focus on the results or something. I don't know. I think I'm just babbling at this point. I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, I think the thing is hypocrisy. You know, scared of hypocrisy, or at least that's how they phrase it, instead of
They don't act like it.
looking at people's intent, and then what people are, what they want more there is they want to be assured that people's actions actually came from them, instead of some automatic response to something. And that comes from the programming. And there is a sense in which people get the feeling, especially liberals, that people can be programmed, to have certain responses.
Well, I'm talk to me about that, because that's another thing I don't understand, is this idea of people being programmed and not having their own agency and ability to.
Some people
make
really
choices for
don't. I
themselves.
mean, like most people, I think. Do,
Maybe
but
I
there's
just
some
can't
people that
relate
don't.
to what that's like. I
can't relate
can't
to
put
them
my
either.
mind in the psychology of somebody that just walks out of their house and every action they take is because
That's
of
what
some kind of outside influence.
Every time I encounter one of those people, I have the same thought. I'm just like, how I cannot understand that person exists. It blows my mind.
It's based off of root ideologies, and that's the danger of it, is that like it's things that have been coming down the pipe for like 400 years. Things like the notion of equality. Like if you have like equality, then we're talking about man as a species being, so the idea of evolution, it kind of limits people to the notion of equality. And you look like, the more scientific you go with this, the more man is sort of programmable, to a certain extent, because it's like, you're just made of the same stuff as anybody else is, so there's this notion that,
like the blank slate theory.
Well, it leads up to that. It goes from Hobbes' kind of biological view of man, that man is actually, he actually described man as a machine,
The moist robot theory.
Yeah, kind of. He talked about like the muscles and stuff as like pulleys and strings and stuff. So
yeah.
So he's talking about like, essentially mechanism, and it's Locke really who came up with the blank slate,
the tabula rasa.
Yeah, the tabula rasa idea, and but to do this, he used empiricism as his basis, because it's like, he's talking about things that can be imprinted on the mind. He's talking about the nature of perception and how we gain our ideas in the world, and then it goes to Rousseau, who kind of said, well, it's society that sort of determines us even more than our biology. He said that actually in nature, you find men in nature and they're all like kind of different. Like he said, he's the one who said man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. So he said, well, society is the one that's kind of assimilated us. And
how can that happen without your collaboration in that process? Because like every religion I've been exposed to, I didn't take on that religion. I could pick and choose which religions I believed in or resonated with you. So there's got to be some subjective element that interacts with that societal programming.
Well, that's the danger of this type of idea, is that is the idea of progress itself. It doesn't happen along clean lines. Like, for example, people didn't just decide like along the 16th century that all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, secular humanism, like, yeah, like liberal democracy, like that's the way to go. And then over 400 years, like everybody around the world just adopted it. Like people didn't just choose to do that. There's a certain way in which it just overtook them, like it just spread.
We see that with the woke stuff now and the social justice ideology. And that had a genealogy to it.
Yeah.
Do you feel programmed?
What was that, brother Jeff?
Do you feel programmed?
To a certain extent, yeah. To a certain extent, I do feel programmed. I feel, like a bowl of pop culture, and there's all of these types of influences, themes and stuff. There's things I'm forced to consider. I know that much. Like, for example, I'm forced to consider the roots of secularism, liberalism, and all of these things, because there's no like cutoff line, and that's why I called them European in my presentation, because where did they come from? Well, you could nominally say they came from Europe. so you say like, all right, well, white people invented it. Like, I don't, but it's like, that's as much as you can say about like the people who had any decision over doing something about it. One could say that once met up with this ideology, people who had never before thought of universal values, had only ever focused on their own traditions and their own ethnic customs, they would be forced to consider this idea, just because of the brute fact of technology that these people had, or something to that effect. That they were just forced to consider these things.
No, I mean, I know what you mean. Like, there are certain things that even in my life, I noticed like there are certain things that you don't question, that you learn like early enough on, that they do feel a bit like programming, and then when you question them later on, you can kind of break that programming down. I think like Auntie Dearest and a couple other people in the comments saying like the NPC type thing, it's kind of based on like the whole simulation theory type of argument, like this idea. I mean, you have to admit, during the pandemic, whenever everything was going crazy in my life, whenever my wife was in psychosis and everything, nothing made sense. I was actually convinced that the world was a simulation for like about 3 or 4 months. I was like, yep. This is a computer simulation. There's no way, nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing is logically adding up. Everything. It seems like it's like everything's glitching out. It seemed like the whole world glitched out. Especially in my life anyway. I feel like everything was a glitch, and like
you came up with that on your own, right? Nobody programmed that into you.
No, I'm saying, but I became convinced just because like the kind of things I was seeing around me, that just didn't make any sense. I couldn't make sense of it in my brain, and I knew of simulation theory, I knew quantum mechanics, I'd read a lot of stuff about it, and I was like, yeah, maybe everything really is a simulation. I kind of like, I almost like became like a devotee of that for a little while. I finally just realized that it doesn't even matter if it's a simulation. I don't believe it's an actual computer simulation, but there's a simulation-like aspect to the universe that I do think that everything here matters. I don't think that it's like some, computer program that doesn't actually matter.
I think that's an interesting example, because it's like, look, why did everybody decide to do this one thing? Meaning that all around the world, people said, okay, we need a response to a global catastrophe, right? And the fact is that if you have a global issue, right, and everybody agrees that either science caused it or science is the solution to it, right? No matter where you go in the world, right? So everybody on the face of the planet is forced to adjust to information, right, that they're not understanding the origins of. Even the people at the highest level are not understanding, what can be done. It's just that it's the nature of a global crisis, is that it blossoms up out of nowhere. Nobody has control over it, but everybody knows what caused it and what the solution is. Weird. That's never happened. Like, it's almost never happened before. You know what I mean? Right. To where, to where if something's unprecedented, yes, you're forced to respond to it in a unique way, I guess. I mean, what else can you say?
So, like, as a species or we default to the scientific worldview or scientific paradigm,
and that's huge. That's huge.
At least when it comes to things like viruses, which science, I guess, has established the most credibility to understand and handle that problem,
and also create.
Well, I want to say
if there were witch doctors that had the track record of curing viruses like science does, we might have defaulted to the witch doctors. Like, let's see what they have to say about this. But science is the one that kind of staked out and claimed that territory.
Well, this is lead into what I wanted to really get in today, but I'm gonna save it for a minute. But let me say this: like, just take the education of women, for example, and the delay of letting a man become a man and having rights, for lack of a better word. That is a global problem, but it's not seen as a problem and addressed as such. See what I'm saying? It's like, so, just something as simple as that creates this whole giant thing, because it's like, well, we can't, and I'm not saying women shouldn't be educated at all. What I'm saying is the kind of education for men and women can't be one-to-one the same, but they're just treated as if they're just exactly the same. And you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not any respect for the differences among men and women or different kinds of people. It's like we have to force everybody into a monoculture. And I think or into a similar standard regardless of circumstance. And I think that's where, like, what you were looking at earlier with the AI and asking it all those questions, it's like it wants to respect people's diversity, but it doesn't really, because it's basically like forcing people who probably don't want to be in the same environment into the same environment. You see what I mean?
The AI is.
Well, the way things are now, it's kind of forces. I mean, it's basically like, if you want to be in this company, then we have to enforce diversity. If you want to be a part of the society, you're going to have to, do a certain thing. And I'm not saying that all standards are bad, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't seem to respect the fact that, I mean, the whole thing, what we were talking about with the woke and stuff, right? Like, the whole idea behind that is one thing. And then they have the right side, which is like, well, we're trying to preserve traditionalism without taking into account that things have moved, right? Like, you still have people saying, oh, I care about capitalism. But I think you and I were talking earlier, like, it's not really a meritocracy the way that they are portraying it to be, right? Like, they're saying capitalism as if it's a meritocracy when it's not a one-to-one same thing. It's like they're conflating terms and using terms that are really not accurate if you're trying to depict the situation that you're in, right?
Well, yeah, they love to do that, like distort and change the way we use language. But the culture wars are language wars in a way. So they're trying to, if they can get their definitions of words pushed through over the traditional definitions, like things like racism. What was the one the other day? Genocide. Lib came on with a totally different definition of genocide than was in the dictionary. Things like racism, the definition of transphobia, the definition of man, woman. So if they can expand or alter the categories that we currently use into what they want them to represent, then they're going to have the ability to have a bigger influence.
What I think is interesting is, if you look at society as an organism, right? And you look at words as basically memes, right? It's like a word is like a word, and its meaning and everything attached to it. It's very much like the concept of the meme. And I like to use the term memetic virus, like whenever like they try to like inject like some of their meaning into the word. They try to like infect a word with some new meaning. And I consider that a memetic virus. They see how it kind of travels through society. And I think it's interesting when you see things like the DEI type stuff and how like this system tries to integrate it, and it tries to, but eventually it starts to reject it. And like it's happening in Texas and Florida. They're dismantling the DEI.
It's happening in Google.
It's happening in Google. It's happening in Disney. The society is starting to reject this particular memetic virus. It's starting to see it as incompatible to its own safety and survival, and because it's seeing that this is actually, I mean, it's actually like evolution even at work of adaptation and survival. It sees that this particular memetic virus, this word virus that's been like idea virus that's been injected into the overall organism of society, is being detrimental to it, and it's actually causing it harm. And so it's starting to literally fight back against it and sending in antibodies in a sense to try to kill it off. And I think that it's fascinating. You can really look at society as a living organism that has like but it's an organism that instead of having virus and cells and stuff like that, it has words, it has concepts, it has ideas as its primary building blocks. You know what I mean?
Well, and even a virus is language, is code.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I just think it's fascinating that you can see society work that way. You can see how society will accept to a certain degree and then just reject or forget about, just the same way you can get a cold, all right? You can get a cold, and a cold will, it might give you a little cough for a little while or something like that, but then it just works its way through its system and it goes on, just like certain ideas, certain memes, or just I remember when on fleek was a thing, right? On fleek was a thing that people were saying everywhere for a month, and then that particular mimetic virus, it was just a little cold, and it died out and it went away. And and so ideas like that, it's the ones that really catch on and take control and take a lot of things. It has to be something that almost has to, it can't be artificially. It seems like the society, or the organism of society, seems to recognize and ultimately reject most artificially created, just the same way a body might reject an artificial organ or limb or something like that. It knows that it's not the real thing, and something about that creates dissonance, and it eventually just works its way out or gets pushed out. I think there's something really fascinating about that. I think there's something to that, more to that than I can fully grasp.
And that's really a kind of Hegelian notion that you get a bunch of people together and poof, a state pops up. It's like a mushroom. It's really not like a coherent mass. But rather, individual spores functioning on a higher level, so that the lower level processes are all defined by this higher level process. So that's kind of what I was actually, kind of showing people on my program the other day, the Friday morning broadcast, kind of the propulsion of change within a society, and those kinds of things. How technology is kind of like that on a wider scale, because it's not really a machine or a factory. It doesn't really matter what type of humans are running the factory, right? It just needs people, so anybody can push the buttons, so it's like their ideology doesn't matter, you know what I mean, right? To a certain extent,
not to mention that hierarchies form no matter what you do, and no matter how much you try to keep it from happening, the hierarchies will form. Even if they're not official, they will. Even if they're unofficial hierarchies will form no matter what. There will be people that people will look to as leaders, and people that even if they're not officially the leader, if they're not officially the president or the group, there's always going to be somebody that's going to be in charge, and other people are going to be followers. And that happens no matter what. No matter how much of a co-op you try to create things, there will always be a hierarchy, and it cannot be avoided. And that's what fucking Peterson gets so friggin' right over the coals for, because he's like, oh, you just want to enforce hierarchies. He's just pointing out the fact that it happens in every single social group, amongst animals all the way up to humans, even in cells.
And he had achieved this idea, but probably directly from Hegel, from the cunning of reason, because he's responsible for reading these types of things, Hegel and Nietzsche and Jung and stuff like that, So really the thing is that, he's employing those guys, especially in the phenomenology of the spirit, where you have this sort of master slave dialectic. And yeah, it's like, what it is it's the progress of world history, another notion that Hegel came up with, this notion that world history is like this thing that's marching along, and is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't agree with Hegel.
I don't agree with Hegel a lot of things, but Hegel has some good points, but I disagree with him largely. But
yeah, I don't agree with progress. The notion of progress. The notion of proceeding through opposition. You know,
Right. I think the idea of progress is a funny one when it comes to society, isn't it? Because it's like it's a progress, and who defines what's progress? Right. Who defines what's really progress? Like progressing, if you have to have a goal in mind to progress towards something. So like if they're saying progress, that means that there's an end goal to their concept of progress. Because like they use it in this really nebulous sense of just like we're progressives, we're progressing. Progressing towards what? There has to be, if you're progressing, you have to be progressing towards a goal. You can't just be progressing. Otherwise you're just wandering around. Right? Right? Don't you have to have a goal to progress towards something? Am I wrong with that?
That is kind of the.
You may not always know the goal, but you just have some. You have to have something to contrast it with that you progress from to evaluate it against to know if it was progress or not. Is this better than, worse than? And part of Hegel's thinking about history was that history could be reduced to a science and it was predictable and it had a pattern to it. And I don't necessarily even agree with that assumption.
Well, what you're saying,
he thought that humans' ability to understand history would give them the ability to control, manipulate, and shape history.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like Chris said, you know, does progress itself have teleology, you know, and if you look at change on a mass level, you know, well, you could look at, you know, Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, Darwin saw evolution and he said, that's random change. It's not headed in any direction, you know, and Alfred Russel Wallace said, no, there's definite improvement there. You know, things improve over time. You know, this evolution is because things work, so that it happens. And he said because things move on because they work. He said there's teleology in nature. You know, and he studied you know, butterflies and stuff like that, and he came to the conclusion that you know there's something in nature that's pulling you towards this thing. You know,
Right.
you know, and
Sometimes
for
towards
hate,
extinction.
yeah,
There's not uniform continuous improvement. I mean, you don't. There's some improvement in some species in some areas, but it's not universal.
yeah,
When you're
yeah, I
looking
mean,
at evolution, anyway. So
yeah. I mean,
it's
I
like
don't.
it's like selection bias or something. He's looking at the parts of evolution that do appear to have improved, and ignoring the ones that haven't or have actually regressed to something less effective than the whatever came before. So he's like extracting his own narrative of progress through how he's viewing evolution.
Yeah, yeah, and for Hegel, there's definitely a teleology, but it's like hard to say what it really is. You know, I think it's some sort of liberal or scientific values. You know, that's like progressing over time, and that's how most people see it. You know, they see that, well, there's liberal and or scientific notions that have progressed. You know, and some people consider these concepts to be universal. You know, are, you know, and yet other people considered them to be you know, the harbinger of doom, you know.
Maybe Jefferson should have said life, liberty, and the pursuit of teleology, because it's no, because here, I mean, what I'm getting at is like it's
being serious.
It's hard to determine what the teleology of the system is, and it's certainly hard for you to determine what yours should or could be or would be at this stage, right? Like maybe in the past you could have argued that people had you know, a more rigid purpose, right? But now it's like you kind of get to supposedly pick your own purpose, but you're still gonna have to conform to
reality.
right. And I guess I also don't think that we should just glorify the past situation either, because it's so far removed from where we are. It's not really knowable, honestly, other than in a book or something, right? But it is definitely very different, going from a tie to the land, a tie to your community, a tie to a village, to now we're living our lives via technology so much more, right? Like, it's hard to deny that we didn't all grow up watching TV and hanging out on the phone and hanging out on the internet. Like, it's going to fundamentally just change the way you see the world compared to a human 100 years ago. Like, it's not really comparable in a lot of ways, right?
Zarathustra's serpent just put out a video on history talking about this, so I'll put it in the chat. I was gonna play it, part of it, on stream one day. I may still do that.
Yeah.
He talks about Hegel, Nietzsche, and how to use and interpret history, and whether that's even possible.
Yeah, he'd be a great person to have on. To have on, I'd love to talk.
Yeah,
to him.
I would. Oh, I hope he comes on one day. Paul's trying to get him on. So yeah, Zarathustra, if you're watching, please come on. You would be a very welcomed guest. Maybe I'll reach out to him after the new year.
Yeah.
I'll let Paul have a crack at him first.
I mentioned it in the private chat, but I just want to shout out the fact that we're up to 114 subscribers, and I'm very proud of.
Wow, we broke 100. Thank you, everyone. We hope to make your faith in us worthy.
Yeah. And I'm so happy to see Patty back in the chat, and we got a lot of new faces in the chat that I haven't seen before. Gary and Auntie Dearest, just like that. I'm just like, really, I'm happy to see all you guys there. Like, it's really cool to have new people in the chat and everything. So like, just like, welcome, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation and everything. So it's a little
Patty, it really is good to see you back. And dude almost never comes on here anymore at all. So I don't even think you have to worry much about him anymore. So I'm glad you're here hanging out.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, it really is it's a pretty interesting, like, overall, like, just conversational topic, just like about the, like I said, like the sociological organism that we're dealing with, and like the way it's kind of working some things out. I was thinking, like, like we were talking earlier about, like, our various jobs and some of the jobs that we've had, and like, and how we've got, like, we've gotten fired from these jobs, and how you got fired from a job for being too creative and passionate. And I've also gotten similar type. I haven't gotten quite one that was quite that complimentary before, but I've gotten similar type firings before, or like being let go from. Now, not only it wasn't like fired, it was more like much more kind, like, kind of like they made it more like, like we're laying you laid off, this kind of thing. They're just like, like I said, it was a much more, it was kind of had that vibe of getting broken up with, like, it's not you, it's us kind of thing, like, it's like you're just not quite the right fit for us kind of thing.
Yeah, cultural fit.
But I think, like, if you do look and you see, like, how a lot of people are kind of those programmable type people. And like there are a lot of NPC types out there, whether or not, I mean, and every time I meet one, it still blows my mind. I'm just like, how do you exist? Like, how does this person, like, function? How does this person go through their day to day? And then I think to myself that this is the norm. This is like it's people like us. That it's not just that we threaten the people above us. It's not just that we threaten, like, we are almost a glitch in the system. We are something necessary to push the system forward.
Or are we a glitch, or are we like a higher product of, are we what the system is working towards?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like
the progress that Machine was talking about.
It's kind of like that Matrix thing with, like, have you ever heard the Matrix theory that, like, that Neo isn't actually the one, but Agent Smith is? Agent Smith is actually the one that was prophesized. That's like there was a couple of YouTube essays on that. It's an
Yeah,
interesting idea.
yeah. Well, here,
Yeah,
let me.
somebody recently said that on our show. Yeah, or it was or I was on another show and somebody kept going through that with me. Yeah.
I can definitely see the argument for it. I don't know if I buy into.
I don't know if I agree with it either, but I think it's an interesting argument. I'm just saying, but like you look at like if our system, if the world does function anywhere close to like, I'm not saying it does. I don't believe we live in the Matrix. I don't believe that, but I do think there's a lot of parallels between like the way the world the Matrix lays out and the way the world works.
I think it's allegorically very accurate. It's just not.
Yeah, allegorically. That's what I mean. Allegorically, I think it's very accurate. I don't think I do see the world through narratives. I do see the world through the narrative lens and all things. So like whenever I say these things, I think of them as not literal, but as like the narratives that the world kind of like hangs itself onto, you know.
What
frameworks.
If what you believe comports enough with reality to make you believe that that's the way you should behave, then it does kind of manifest in a sense. Like if you believe, like for Christians, for example, if you believe that
Did he cut out?
You might have. You there, Jack?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that was awesome. Black helicopters, they get that Men in Black showed up and they took him away before he could reveal the truth. Every time happens. But yeah, I mean, like I think there's something like that. Like there's something like that. There he is. What were you saying, Jack?
Sorry, so somebody was trying to call me. Yeah, no, I'm just what I was saying is just basically like what you believe will become. It's like a prophecy can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, yeah, is kind of what I'm getting at. And so, like, if what you believe to a certain degree determines how you behave, and you know, on from there. But I kind of lost.
I don't want to believe that, but I think it's probably true. But if I don't believe it, then it won't affect me.
Let me run this scenario by you. Have any of you guys ever been to an Asian grocery store?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever went to the bathroom in those Asian grocery stores?
No.
Is
it a little hole in the floor?
Well, not in America, but yes. I mean, basically what I'm getting at is like I went into an Asian grocery store this morning, and I've been there many times, but I hate going into them. The reason why is, you know, it's just dirty. Like they don't clean. There's boxes all over the floor. It's like chaos, right? It's not like nice and stacked and presentable and well lit, and the people are rude, and they just like they pretend as if you're not there. They cut you off. They look hostile towards you. You know, it's like it's not an environment to which Whitey, you know, is
well, you're the white devil. You're a white devil, man. You can't expect
right
enemy territory there.
Yeah, but I'm, you know, do I hate these people? No, but do I want to you know, accept that as the standard for the way that I want my grocery store to be? No. But if I try to go in there and get hired as a manager and say, hey, you know, I'll come in and I'll clean up the place, we'll make it nice, we'll make it presentable. What are they going to say to me? They're going to say, I don't give a fuck about that. I'm here to make money and I don't need you, right? They're not interested in my standard, right? It's like it's irrelevant to them, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, should I call the health department and say these guys are disgusting? No, I should say they're, you know, I mean, I could. I'm just saying, like, what recourse is there, right? Like they're going to
go on social media and you tell everybody how nasty they are.
Yeah, get them canceled.
I guess
dude,
so.
Dude, this is just a side note.
Stream it.
We have a little Koreatown like section of Dallas in one part of it that has this really nice Asian grocery store that I've gone to many times for various things that you can only get there. But one time we went back there in the seafood section, and they were actually selling goddamn blobfish. And I could just like, I could not imagine. I just wanted to mention that. That was a real thing that I saw, and it makes me, I think I have a picture of it on my phone somewhere because I couldn't believe I was seeing it. You know what a blobfish looks like, right?
Oh, the one with the big noses. I'm looking at them now. To eat?
Yeah. Yes, it was in the seafood section. They had 3 or 4 of these blobfishes sitting in like this in the seafood thing. And I was just like, who the fuck? How do you eat this? Who would eat it? I don't know. I just wanted to mention it just because I just like yeah, that thing right there. They had that exact thing sitting there looking just as sad and disgusting as it looks right there for sale for food. And that was bizarre, and I just wanted to mention
it looks
that.
like some of the people that we panel with. I guess that's
present company excluded. Present company excluded.
Yeah, of course.
Machine, there was a guy on Easy's panel last night that looked just like you. I thought it was you at first when he showed up.
What's his name?
The Struggles. He has a channel. Jorgen Struggles.
Jorgen
Struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have him as a co-host.
Shades.
Yeah, we need a co-host out here. You know.
Let me see if I can find his channel.
With me and NeuroJack. You know.
Preferably a beautiful lady with big. With big ego.
Yeah.
You could say
that should be hard to find.
Yeah, I'm going to be putting something out there, especially if my wife doesn't come back, get like a female co-host, because there's nobody to get jealous of somebody like that. So I'd just be like, I just like have her there.
But don't like most of your audience, aren't they? Most of the audience are like get mad when there's women on these panels at all. So like, is that gonna hurt this?
That's the kind of thing, is that it'll change the vibe a little bit, because I can't create an atmosphere that's conducive to females, but I could just have a female on there as a co-host. That would solve a lot of the problem.
We lost our female co-host. We don't know where he is.
Yeah, Liv, if you're out there,
we'll call home.
And Emerald's been dealing with stuff too, so we haven't had Emerald or Liv. We haven't had.
Emerald. We had a female host for a little while, and it worked.
You need to bring Joshua back. She'll come back.
No, she's dealing with life right now, but she may be back at some point.
I'm just joking. No, I was gonna say, why not just get like a real butch woman co-host?
Buck Angel.
That'll make everybody happy.
If any women want to come, most women don't. I'm surprised the amount of women that actually do stick around here. But if any women want to come on and co-host,
there's tons of women in my chat.
Balance.
That's the problem. It's like there's tons of.
Somewhere it comes on. Somewhere in time.
Yeah, she comes on. She's cool.
We do.
Lindsay's been building up the courage to come on as actually on the other laptop as a panelist, but she just hasn't had the. She feels like she doesn't have anything to contribute to the conversations, but I keep telling her she does.
I wouldn't say this is a safe space for women. We don't go out of our way or do anything special to accommodate or make.
Trust me,
you're pretty much on your own, but that's true for all the guests up here.
Lindsay's more of a troll than anybody on this panel right now. I tell you that much. Lindsay used to be like one. I mean, I can't say that I didn't kind of train her how to do it, but I kind of senseied her through how to be like ultimate Twitter troll for a while, because she was really into Twitter, and I kind of coached her on how to handle certain situations, and she got really good at it. Well, she's very capable of handling her own shit. She can handle insults and all sorts of like she doesn't have any issue with that.
And you guys knew Weave, so I'm sure that you guys picked up some tricks from that dude.
Who? Oh, I mean, we didn't know him. I've talked to him a few times. It wasn't like a close friendship, but
who?
Weave, infamous internet troll Weave, Andrew Auenheimer. He was. He went from.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say I wish I could find the clip of. And you could play the clip. You could not play the shit that he said on shows. Like, you would end up on some list, probably.
I've talked to Barrett Brown before too.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know any of these people.
Look up Barrett Brown. He's also he's a very He's a very famous. He's one of the famous original members of what used to whenever Anonymous was actually a thing that actually mattered. He was one of the people that was behind like the anonymous protest against Scientology and shit like that. He was one of the original 4chan anonymous trolls, and he's a pretty cool guy.
We have
He
one
looks
of
like
those.
some little white guy.
Yeah, he's a little white guy, but he's a pretty cool guy though.
No, I was gonna say if Lindsay is good at trolling, I have a few channels I would recommend her go to.
She doesn't do it anymore. She kind of got out of the game, but like I've been encouraging her not to get back into trolling, but into getting back in onto social media and stuff like that. So we can try to because she's really good at social networking, a lot better than I am. I'm terrible at social networking. I can't muster the care for it. The care it takes to get on Twitter and actually care. Oh, I just can't do it.
We can go into that business of antisocial networking,
Antisocial networking. Okay.
Yeah. Or troll farm, and we just grow and cultivate trolls.
That could be our tagline.
We can Lindsay Smith. No, I'm talking about Lindsay, my wife, Lindsay Hawkins.
Lindsay's the one that goes on Flow State and Talcott. Yeah, yes. I think I know who he's talking about.
He's a troll. So let me tell you guys, I looked at this little business course kind of thing, and here's the 4 criteria, or there's really 7. So you have the market, you have your offer, and then you have your what do you call it? Your ability to persuade. And here's the 4 criteria. You have you need to find people in pain who have purchasing power, that are easy to target, and a growing market. So
that sounds exploitative.
A little bit, yeah.
That's the business. So we need to find. So it seems that there is a market for trolls, right? So what we need to do is we just start our own troll farming operation, because it seems
like
to be
a troll.
I think we have the potential for very sophisticated high tier trolls. We're like the high class hoes of trolls, and
right, like that,
they can go slum. Some other agency,
like the Black Widow or the Red Sparrow thing, like the movie, like the Russian, like the really sophisticated, women that would be really high class, kind of like high class hookers that would it get really close to high powerful men, that kind of thing, like trolls that would get into the higher echelons and play puppet master and stuff like that. That's the kind of thing we need to do. Why don't we just create our own intelligence agency? Despite our lack of intelligence, we can just.
Well, I've seen most of your attempts to make sense of events, and
we can be the anti-intelligence agency.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, so that was the anti-intelligence agency. So that was kind of a low blow, Jeff. That was kind of a low blow with Larry. Sorry.
I'm just being real. I can't fake.
Is your last name David, Larry?
Mostly because I bitch and criticize about it almost every stream. It's hard to hide that. All somebody has to do is go back and watch, and they'll see me doing it.
You know what I mean. You guys get it.
David Smith?
Larry David.
Oh, yeah. No, I relate to Larry.
I do too. Actually, the few shows I watched,
everyone does.
Both we laughed our ass off at that show, because it's like she's like, "Oh, I understand Jews now." I'm like, "Yep, that's pretty much, there you go. That's your explanation."
I was gonna say earlier when we were talking about you can see how hierarchies form even when they're not official. Me and Jeff have been watching some Survivor lately, and that's the most interesting thing I find about it, is how these hierarchies form within their tribes and stuff like that, and they are both unaware of it sometimes until someone points out where they are in the hierarchy and stuff like that, and they have these revelate, and how they use that against the other members, stuff like that. That's the thing I find most interesting about that show in general, is the way that hierarchies form without there being any. There's no voting, there's no democracy, but no matter what, they organize themselves into leaders and followers and workers and stuff like that, and fodder, basically. Some people just basically make themselves into pawns. And it's really interesting to see how, like, no matter what, even in a situation where like you're not forced in any kind of thing, like this whole idea that like hierarchies are evil or patriarchal and don't exist, like kind of thing, it's just bullshit. Like hierarchies form no matter what you do, and it's like it's very difficult. It's very difficult to see how that could ever be undermined or changed. Really, I think in human nature.
I wish that I could just repeat the conversation that Joshua Jones and another dude in Machine Lies and I were having in Machine Lies Discord. We, three of us were having this discussion about that very thing, about how it relates to technology and all this, and people come up with some
Joshua was supposed to come on today.
Responses.
Talk about it.
That's right. Yeah. You saw that. Yeah.
He's sleeping.
Did you read some of that conversation?
Yeah, I did. I kind of like, I gotta tell you, he made the most sense to me, but I was looking forward to the live conversation.
Oh, well, fuck knows.
Maybe for New Year he'll come on and do it.
No, I know that what I'm trying to say is very complicated, and I'm looking for pushback because I don't really have a good way of
explaining in the right place.
So let's you and I fight over it. What was he right about and I'm wrong about?
I'm pulling it up now. Let me browse over it. The thing about power, like it being power, like that little simple power formula of capitalism, even what you just said about exploiting the people that's suffering, and then the thing about gossip and women's work.
Gossip and women's work. So you're saying that criticizing
the exact line.
So criticizing the system,
all the speculation that y'all do, it does remind me of women gossiping.
Well, I would argue that lack of speculation is kind of a women's trait too. I mean,
but there's, I guess there's pointless or baseless speculation, and there's more purposeful speculation.
Well, I guess we should ask ChatGPT. How do you evaluate the validity of speculation?
Okay, let's see what it says, because I have a hard time indulging in speculation for its own sake if it's not going to lead to something probable that I can make use of. And a lot of the speculation, I think, is just the pleasure of indulging in speculation. But it doesn't really go anywhere, and it's not really based on anything. It's like what Chris calls the writer's brain. It's more science fiction.
Well, that's why they call it authoritarianism, because whoever writes the best story wins.
And
well, I think the more you can anchor your story to something probable, the better chance you have of winning. What did you say? What
by what standard measure the validity of speculation?
Standards.
And you could just say, like, regarding technology and its institutionalized power, whatever you want. I mean, you could phrase it a bunch of different ways. So maybe just make it basic.
Wow, it gave us some really good stuff. You're gonna like this. Internal consistency, which conspiracy theories can have. So can fiction. So can I've seen patients in psychosis that have very internally consistent narratives that have nothing to do with reality. Does the speculation adhere to logical principles, avoid contradictions, etc.? Are the assumptions clearly stated? Most often no, because I end up having to pull them out. And do the conclusions follow logically from them? Again, I would say not always. Coherence with existing knowledge. Does the speculation align with or contradict established facts, theories, and evidence within the relevant field? This is where I think you fall short, all of you. It doesn't necessarily align with any established facts. Does it offer a plausible explanation for observed phenomena? It offers an explanation, but I don't know if it's the most plausible or the most probable, which is another criticism I have.
One note on that before you move on. But in the case, and has been true in many times in human history, if the established facts turn out to be false, unless someone actually questions them and tries to speculate against them, they never get called out or corrected. It requires someone to speculate and call out established facts in order for the truth to actually to come out. This has happened all throughout history. Like, people believe like one thing for a long time until someone dares question it, and there's a lot of pushback from it.
Yeah, but
Galileo was
there are effective ways of questioning and less effective ways of questioning.
Sure, but I'm just saying, but to throw out the concept,
I don't mind being questioned, but if the questioning is like, what if there's this cabal of secret men pulling strings behind everything and puppeteering everything, that's not going to get me to question what you're trying to get me to question.
Sure, and I agree with that. I'm not talking about. I'm just saying, but like, there is value in speculating and questioning sometimes established facts.
What if the question is there's a smoky room with a bunch of secret AIs kind of controlling things instead?
All smoking cigarettes. They're and it's fine because they can't get lung cancer. So
exactly, they have synthetic lungs, so they don't care about that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. Explanatory power. Does the speculation provide a comprehensive and illuminating account of the subject matter? I would say not always, or even
no, definitely
often.
not always.
Does it generate new insights or here it is, listen to this, make testable predictions that can be evaluated? No. Big no on that one. Big red X. Fruitfulness, does it lead to further research, generate new questions? That it does. It leads all over the damn world from topic to topic to topic, way out into the far reaches of the universe. So I guess fruitfulness, you get points for that. Does it have the potential to contribute to knowledge advancement and problem solving? That's what I keep saying over and over and over. That's what I'm here for. Samuel Johnson has a phrase about criticism being the ability to improve opinion into knowledge. I am here to try to do just that. I want to help improve opinion into actual knowledge. And that's where I think the speculation stalls. Because it gets lost, it loops. It gets lost in the joys of speculation for its own sake, instead of as a preparation of propaedeutics to some larger investigative activity. And I try to bring it to the next stage.
You're talking about ideas, right?
Yeah, it kind of starts with the conspiracy type stuff, and it goes on from there.
But what
Jack
you're talking about is useless as ideas, right? But ideas, and especially false ideas, they have extreme influence on people.
They have
extreme influence on people. And something doesn't have to comport with facts to actually have influence on people, or to change the way they do things. Like the Hitler quote where he said, "The bigger the lie, the more people will believe it." It's kind of like,
voodoo.
Yeah, like it has its own voodoo, and just by sheer quantity, just by sheer quantity, fiction is greater than truth, just because it has more influence. I would personally say that human speech is basically just a level of speculation. I mean, what else do you have? I mean, the only thing else you have other than speculation is demonstration.
Yes, I think demonstration is very valuable. Probably more valuable than speculation.
Well,
so I am more interested in the demonstration phase than the speculation phase.
We'll say you demonstrate something, right, and it ends up in a disaster. Well, that's likely to influence nobody. But you can speculate something false and still influence people. Right, that's the problem with speculation.
I guess because
it works by not working as good as it does by working. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I think you have a point, because I see speculation influencing many people, probably more than actual truth or fact does.
There's more,
but I know I myself am influenced by truth and fact and actuality. So much I'm just extrapolating from my own response to that.
There's so much Joe Rogan philosophy, bumper sticker philosophy. It gets way further than Plato. You know, right? You know what I'm saying, right? It just does. You know, it's like
I'm really more Aristotelian because even Plato, I think, got lost in
we're in an
speculation.
age where people think like what Alan Watts and Timothy Leary and Terrence McKenna and Joe Rogan think and Elon Musk think is like as good as like what Socrates like said. Like we're literally living in that age where like it's
Are you saying that they legitimately are, or people think they are, see them as good as?
people think like Alan Watts is like fucking
No, those are just people that haven't read Plato.
of course. But I'm saying like to those people it's as good as
That's like Jordan Peterson. It's like
having
people who've
read
never read
Plato.
Carl Jung or Northrop Frye.
Yeah, of course. People who like fawn and like quote Jordan Peterson, they're not gonna go read Jung tomorrow. You know what I mean, right? They're just gonna read their little Jordan Peterson book, and that's gonna be it. They're gonna read Jordan Peterson's views on Jung, which are basically dog shit. You know, that's just gonna be like, you know, that's gonna be the end of it. You know.
Well, there's a few more. Oh, here's a big one that I ran into with Occam's razor: parsimony. Does it offer the simplest and most economical explanation for the available evidence? Often not. Often it brings in needless assumptions that could be better explained by something more simple. Testability, again, it has no ability to be subjected to empirical scrutiny. I attempt logical analysis, but that tends to frustrate a lot of people. Predictive power. Does it accurately anticipate future events or outcomes? That remains to be seen because a lot of the speculation is about things that we haven't seen the results of yet. So when the results come in, then people could say, see, this is what I was speculating about. I was right.
But it's like you mentioned science fiction. You know, like one of the most interesting examples I give on my show is like Arthur C. Clarke, like inventing the satellite. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like he's like, oh yeah, there's gonna be like these little like data centers that like float around the planet, and they're gonna be like transmitting like information like to all places in the world. And
lo
at
and
the
behold.
time, people, at the time, people
H.G.
were like,
Wells did some of that. So did Philip K. Dick. So did Star Trek. So yeah,
of course.
pretty much every really good science fiction author has predicted a few things that actually like really were really early on that were really specific to like what actually happened. And it's kind of it's almost and I don't even know the people that invented those things. They might have read those things and then decided to try to make them a reality when they could.
Because technology is downstream from human imagination and vision and creativity.
Right.
I don't know.
And Jack was talking about like William Gibson and how his books had predicted the world we're living in now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe.
But this is something I've been focusing on a lot. I had talked to NeuroJack about this like a few weeks back, and I mentioned this like we were talking about Adam Green, and I was saying like and Jack was saying like was talking about. I was saying how I don't really find Adam Green all that interesting. I think he's a basic bitch atheist, and like he just like covers it up with a bunch of like weird anti-Jewish conspiracy theory stuff that I find tedious and boring because I don't see the advantage of it. If like his real agenda is about trying to expose Christianity or trying to wake people up from this or that, then I think that like bringing up all this anti-Jewish stuff just discredits him and it just makes him look stupid. And I was saying that, but and Jack made the point that he was like, but like if you see these kind of things like this, like how do you point them out without mentioning those things? And I said that in my basic point in that conversation was that it doesn't matter because at this point I don't think that exposing agendas or uncovering conspiracies or putting them out there in the masses, it can be fine to talk about and it can be fine to in a conversation, but I don't think they're important. I don't think it's important to do, and I don't think it really matters. I think the only thing that matters is creating our own actual agendas and building our own thing. Building something that's actually positive that counters that is a far more effective and a far more important thing to do than to constantly speculate about the cases or the what may or may not be done by evil people in high places and stuff like that. Like I've gotten bored with conspiracy things overall. I think over the years
That's what I wanna do too. But first, I want to find out what is quote unquote our own thing.
Yeah,
What
no,
is our-
that's
our
that's
what?
that's my point. That's my point.
You know what I
Is
mean?
trying to nail down what our thing
yeah,
is.
yeah,
and
because you
build
can't like you said. Otherwise, it's just going against a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
well, here's the list of the shit we're reacting to or we're against, but that's not a response. Like in terms of a positive response, to something to a higher ideal, So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah. So and my thing, it's like what is our how can we have our own thing and our own thing? And I mean that in the truest sense of the word.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
just
like,
realized.
how do we just not use the tools that they have set before us so that we can create something similar to what they've already made?
Well, I mean, we can use their tools. I have no problem using their tools. I just don't want to use
Well, that's
their
what I mean.
agenda as a basis for ours. I just don't want to build something that's specifically just made to counter something else. I want to build something that has its own merits and is built on its own strength.
And that's why I'm trying to get people to see the connection between the tools and the agendas.
No, I think what you're doing is great. I'm not talking shit about like what you're doing or anything else.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But
I just want to make sure I'm clear about that.
In terms of like like you said, it's tangible. So like
Yeah.
Like I'm going with this is what I'm doing about it. Right? So
Yeah.
like
I think we're doing some of that just from the streaming that we do and the conversations we have in the interactions.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I mean it's been.
I just think that I just want that to be that's my focus life wise right now. That and survival and trying to build something that creates positive impact and build it is with as strong of a foundation as possible, and not build it in particular in opposition to perceived or real threats.
Well, this is kind of what I was trying to drive towards, and I don't know how to. I'm presenting this for the first time, as far as I know, so I'll try to make it as easy to understand as possible. But this is kind of what I'm getting at. By what standard do we judge? And this is what Joshua got lost on the point of. He's like, well, you're assuming that people have the intention to control people, and I would say, well, it doesn't matter if the intention is there or not. If the capacity is there and you don't take advantage of it, most likely someone else will. So by what purpose is this technology being built? And then let's say that we build it. So like let me start with a general question to you guys. Would be my first question would be, what do you see as the general goal that we should have? Like, should it be human health and well-being and happiness? Whatever you mean by that. Is that like a general standard by which we judge things? And then, okay, you say, well, what do you mean by that? And then we all have to kind of come to some sort of consensus. Okay, this is the general parameters of health and well-being that humans should aspire towards. And then you say, okay, well, is this technology conducive with those goals? Well, we don't know until we do it. And then, but what I'm saying is, you collect the data and then readjust the system based on that. Well, at a certain point, how can you really measure? Because everything that you're using to measure is related to the thing that you're using. Does that make sense? Like now you're kind of in a self-reinforcing situation where it's hard to determine where your goals end and where the means begin, right?
Everything made sense until that last sentence about the thing you're using to measure is part of what you're measuring.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
I lost you on the last point too.
What do you mean?
Say your last point again. About you said, how do you measure when the thing that you're using to measure?
Right. Well, my point is we're using the technology to get to a certain goal, and then you have to collect data using the technology that you're using to get to your goal. And then, let's say that you find that it's completely antithetical to your goal of human health and well-being. Well,
now you're so dependent upon this that you can't really dismantle this thing ethically, because you're going to negatively impact the health and well-being of the people that it serves. So now you're in a
What's an
catch-22
example?
where
'Cause
you have no standard. You have no standard by which to move forward, because either way you go, you're going to negatively impact health and human standards, and you're not going to know the exact amount that either direction will go, whether you try to dismantle what you've built or whether you try to continue to improve. Right? So,
what's an
it's how do you
example of
measure that?
what's an example of something you're talking about? Because I'm not doing any of that. I'm not collecting
Let's just
data.
let's just use
I'm
social media.
using my brain and my own like sense and intuition to evaluate. I'm not
Well, you could
relying on
you could use
technology to do
any
that.
you could use any measurement. You could use cell phone. You could use social media. You could use education systems. You could use. I mean, just the system of transportation alone is more than enough to illustrate the point. I think, like, whatever technology subset you pick, I think you're going to find the same problem essentially.
Well, let's say the technology we're using now, like right here, the streaming YouTube video cameras, microphones, and we're using it to connect, have conversations, create community, brainstorm, problem solve, etc. Meet our socialization needs. You're saying it's which all seems directed toward the goal of human well-being and flourishing, etc. And you're saying at some point we could collect some data that told us
Let's
that
say
what we
that
thought we were
let's say
doing is the
let, let,
opposite of what
let,
we were doing.
let's say that we had data from 100 years ago before all this technology got so proliferated, and it directly showed that people are far less healthy and have a sense of well-being than they did 100 years ago in general, right? So what would you do from this point forward to correct that? Is there any possible direction you could possibly think
I
that
don't.
would?
I can't work off of in general. I would have to know specifics because me with what I'm doing, I don't think I'm doing it in a way that's having a negative effect from 100 years ago. I think I'm doing it in a way that's improving or having a greater effect than in the past.
Sure, but my point is we're
My
so
goal
interconnected
is
that you
to
can't
use.
really. There's no firewall. Is kind of what I'm getting at. There's no firewall. Like, we're all using and dependent on it to a large degree. So if you take it away, you're
I
gonna.
have my own subjective judgment that I rely on, and it's working so far.
But do you have the right to use your
Like
subjective?
if I see that what I'm doing becomes destructive, then I'll course correct. But right now, it doesn't seem destructive; it seems constructive.
Do you recognize that sometimes something can seem one way but not actually be that way?
Yeah, but
Sure.
but I'm also getting feedback from other. It's not just me thinking this. I hear it from Chris. I hear it from other people.
How many times have you had
I'm
a
doing it
conversation?
in collaboration with other humans that
Well,
are also giving
how
me
many
like evaluation feedback.
how many times have you had a conversation with a woman where she says, "I'm happy," but everything that about this person tells you they're not happy, but
You're asking me.
because they tell you that they are, what recourse do you have, right?
Well, I mean, I guess all these people could be lying to me, but I don't. I'm relying on them and trusting them.
Well, people have different
And not to
motivations.
mention, I'm going by things that people show up and they're using the technology that
You
we
really
built.
can't go through
So-
life expecting everyone to be lying to you because, like, I mean, like, there's just no. If you're constantly expecting that, then, like, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy at one point anyway. But I don't see how that's helpful.
I think
Well,
if people are genuinely not getting something out of this, they will just like silently stop using it. And if they are getting something out of it, they will continue to participate and use it.
Well, if people are social creatures and the general perception is this is what people do to get social, hierarchical status, then how can you expect that people would act any differently than participate? In general,
it's just the qualitative aspects of things, that really matter. Is it a better quality of experience? Like are we all having a collective better quality of experience? with each other, even though we're being I guess the thing is that, if there's a lockdown, global lockdown, and they say, well, you have to stay at home and stuff like that, and people are afraid to go to the grocery store, right? And that's basically been imposed on the government, right? Well, then we're forced to rely on our technological means more. It's not a choice that everybody just made. It's not that it was conducive to our own happiness and everybody was just like, okay, let's just do it this way. No, people are shopping on Amazon now because they have to, or they're buying, tons of toilet paper and what have you. You know what I'm saying, right? Because the store ran out of toilet paper, or whatever, So that's the kind of thing that I'm referring to. That all you would have to do to accomplish that is change the news reports. Apparently, there has to be there doesn't have to be even any 1% of qualitative change when you walk outside your own door that anything's even different. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of rapid change I'm referring to. And does that add to our qualitative experience? Well, like I said, in some ways it does. Now from the young men that were following around Socrates, living in the polis of Athens, some of them, may have had bread and wine like once a week. You know what I mean? Because like it takes a while to make these things. You know what I mean, right? In the ancient world, to like press the wine, to like grow the grapes, like do all that shit. Well, over here we could just walk to the liquor store and just get some wine. But are we having a better experience than those men were having? Sitting in the agora talking about philosophy with Socrates, is it qualitatively any different? Are we doing better philosophy here, sitting here? I mean, it would be presumptuous of us to assume that, just because we have better tools to do these things, that millions of people are doing them better.
Yeah. I don't think we are.
Yeah, we're not, because look at the volume of pop philosophers and all of those types of things. There's just so much garbage.
But I don't think that's the fault of the tools. I think that's just
it's the fault of convenience.
The quality of the philosophers of the past relative to us.
Well,
they set a very high standard that very few humans after them are going to meet.
But that's the thing, is that the question is through the experience that we're having, is it qualitatively better tailored to produce men like that? We would have
produced by their environment.
That is a fundamental question that I'm proposing. I guess that goes to something that I can't answer. So
I don't know that you can produce.
I'll just turn it back.
Or a Plato or a Shakespeare. I think that more just happens.
Just
like we don't. It's a mystery. It's the mystery of human genius. We don't know why they happen.
That is essentially what it is. And once you admit that, then genius and genius. Pairing genius with invention, the inventive spirit, we can come to some things, because if you pair genius with the inventive spirit, then yes, it's the thing that moves us. It's why we're here. But then on the other end, it's the ultimate danger. Because what's coming out of that other end, nobody actually knows.
Well, and I would just add this one layer to it. If you have no way of having an accurate measure of virtue, and you don't have a standard definition even of what that means, then how do you really make a qualitative statement about anything related to human beings, right? Like, without an ethical standard, you're basically just, what are you doing? Like, what is the purpose, right? And I think that's kind of the other part of it is like, everybody's not going to be a Plato or Aristotle or whatever, but
one of my one of my philosophy professors at the University of Michigan was talking about like the stadium, the Michigan stadium, right? And he said, you know, there's a population of this many inside of this city. You can get them all and fit them inside of this football stadium. You know, and he said it's about the same as a population of Renaissance Italy. And he said, imagine if you filled the same stadium with all the people that lived in Renaissance Italy. You know, he said, what did those people produce, and what could we produce?
Yeah.
you know, it's staggering. You know, those people 400 years ago, you know, that like this place, like Renaissance Italy, was producing like genius after genius in like science and art and all of this shit. You know, and then you know, they had Giambattista Vico, they had like Da Vinci, they had like all of these fucking you know, they had like Machiavelli, they had like all these fucking people, you know, that were like way huge level geniuses. You know, and they had a guy who like painted the Sistine Chapel and shit like that, and it's like who could do that today? You know, you can get the whole population of the whole city, you know, of people inside Michigan and fill the whole stadium with them, and you'd have a fucking stadium full of nobodies. You know,
and I think that had very little to do with material conditions. Maybe like a culture of education that we don't have now, but even then, I think a lot of it is just innate. Because it didn't produce like 1,000 Michelangelos. It produced one, even with all of the rest of the intellect.
Right, but just the like, you know, you know, just the by sheer volume, you know, of you know, people who had irreplaceable levels of talent and skill. You know, whereas we can't even find one of those around. You know, whereas like like I could just look at this one place in history and name off like 10 of them. It's just strange, you know. It's like how does that happen?
Also,
we're something, you know.
Yeah, where are our geniuses today? I don't know, and we've reached such a scale that if they're out there, they're probably lost in the masses.
We don't have them. We have Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson.
You know what's really funny? It's really funny. Like we're talking about all the geniuses that came out of Athens, and like literally, like this town Athens, Georgia, is known for producing more musical geniuses than just about any other place on earth. For like such a small town,
not more than Austria or Germany. You talking about the B-52s and
there's a long list. Like I did a the list of people that came out of Athens, Georgia is for the size town it is, proportionately. It's a very small town. It's a very small college town. It produced REM, the B-52s, Danger Mouse, to some degree, Neutral Milk Hotel. Neutral Milk Hotel came out of there.
Neutral Milk Hotel was from Louisiana.
But they got some of their first recognition that they kind of like they emerged from that same scene. Elephant Six emerged from that same scene. I mean, like, it's just like there's a ton of people that came out of that, and like it's just like I just think it's funny that we're talking about Athens, all the philosophers and everything like that, and like yet a town in America called Athens also produced a strangely high number of geniuses.
Okay, Smith.
What?
Smith? But I guess that speaks to the power of a subculture, because you could say the same thing about Hollywood or a place like
but that's a really big city. That's you're expected. A big city is expected. I'm saying proportionately.
It's a collection of like minds and psyches that are all focused on and immersed in the same creative milieu. That like you get this synergistic effect that generates more of that thing in proportion to other places.
But I mean, like, okay, like, well, why aren't that many come out of Harvard or Berkeley or any other college
Well,
institution.
Harvard's not like an indie music scenes. Other things come out of Harvard that's more particular to the type of culture that Harvard is.
And a lot of these people weren't even going to the college. I'm just saying.
Why do all these
it's
movies
funny
come out of Hollywood and not some other place?
because that's because it's a huge city where all the things. But I mean, like if there was like some obscure town in North Dakota that had produced a really high number of filmmakers, it would be odd. I just thought it was a funny thing. So it was a funny coincidence thing. So we're talking about Athens.
Well,
Georgia.
I'll say something on that film thing just real quick. It's always struck me that, you know, Americans feel a lot of pride in America's ability to tell stories for the world, but the percentage of white Anglo-Protestant filmmakers is pretty low, actually. So I think that's kind of ironic in a way.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know the demographics on that.
I mean, maybe not in like
you don't know the demographics of Hollywood producers?
No, is that a Jewish? Saying something about Jewish people?
Well, I didn't say that, but
is there a Jewish subtext in there? I mean, more power to them. They told some good stories. Steven Spielberg told some amazing, memorable stories that I think will reverberate for a while.
That guy that produced that one movie, Wizard of Oz.
What about him?
They treated that Dorothy girl very bad.
Judy Garland?
Huh?
Judy Garland?
Yeah. They did some things to her, and it's not very nice. Let's put it
that way.
I
just assumed all of Hollywood treats people badly.
Well, I just think the start of it was pretty bad with Al Jolson and those guys, and also the Ku Klux Klan film, and all that type of stuff. Yep. Yeah,
I think Hollywood used to treat actors like cattle. I mean, they really did, and even directors were like cattle. They got traded between studios. They had no real the studios controlled everything back in those old days. So really not surprised.
Have you guys ever heard of The Jazz Singer by Al Jolson?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm a huge film buff, so I've seen all the classic.
Yeah, that was.
I used to have a huge collection of silent films on DVD and stuff too, like that. I always love those shows.
Yeah, I think he's in blackface in that one, or.
Yeah, it's blackface.
So that's the kind of thing. It's like
it was the first sound film, the first film that had sound.
And I am a huge fan of Al Jolson just because I Like to Sing a Owl. That thing is the greatest thing ever made. I like to sing about the moon and the June and the spring. I like to sing. You guys know what I mean?
We don't get copyright struck.
Oh, not from that. No, right.
Oh man, that's one of his greatest performances. I Like to Sing a Owl. That will forever be in my heart as one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
I need to watch that again because that's always been stuck in my head and I have no idea where that came from. So send me a link to that.
Oh, speaking of, when are we going to watch our movies?
Now.
Because Chris is down for it. You're streaming in a few hours, huh?
Yeah, I got to stream in a few hours, so I got to hop off here.
We should do that Gibson thing soon. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's the other one I was trying to think of. What's it called?
Machine knows it. I can't remember the title. I think
the documentary. Nowhere, no something.
Oh, no maps for these territories. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, Machine, are you interested in doing the script read thing for us? We're going to go through this old script of mine and we're going to read it. We're going to do a reading of it. You're interested in taking a role and
reading
I'm
out for tomorrow at noon. I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna.
We'll be. Oh, well, noon your time.
It won't be for a few days. It'll be after the beginning of the year. I'm getting on a bus in the morning at 8:20 and traveling back to Dallas. So.
Yeah.
Well, we get set up next week. Owl Joseph.
Yeah.
Well, we can wrap up here because you have your stream coming up, and I might pop on later.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll be glad to go. I'll be glad to come on. I should be free for the first few hours tonight.
Yeah, compare it to the Zarathustra serpent, presentation, because I am going to go over a lot of interesting things, and especially in the Gnosticism thing. I really recommend you guys go back and watch that stuff. Where I presented my Gnosticism and Arianism and all those things.
What episode is that? I can put a link.
It's really just called Origins of Gnosticism, Perennialism, and like all of those things.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got like the 4 horsemen on the cover. One of them has the 4 horsemen on the cover, and then yeah, that one actually did get a lot of views. That one got like 1K views on it. So and I don't regularly get 1K views. So I noticed like there are a few videos on there that do have over 1K views. And those ones are especially. I noticed Zarathustra Serpent, almost all of his videos are like over 1K views. So if I get like on that level, that would be nice.
He gets more.
Maybe he'll come on your show too.
Oh yeah.
He's a philosopher, fellow philosopher.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him. Right-wing Nietzscheanism versus left-wing Nietzscheanism.
Because he has a video called his Nietzschean liberalism, and he bases his liberalism on Nietzsche.
Exactly. So I could definitely counteract that and bring in the opposing view, because there's a huge spread of a movement. Actually, I gave a 3-hour lecture on Nietzsche's philosophy because of the rise of right-wing Nietzscheanism. It's really
well, y'all need to get together. He's on Twitter. You should contact him. Y'all need to get together. I would love to see.
That might be a good idea. Yeah, that might be a good idea. Just contact
him.
It's
2SZSZ. Something. His Twitter name looks like a snake.
Yeah. The only problem on Twitter is that they have to follow me back. So for me to send
for you to be able to message them.
Yeah. You can DM them still, but they don't. They can just ignore it, because like anyone can DM.
Yeah,
2SZSZS.
Yeah, so that's why I was able to send Adam Green a message, is because he was already following me from a long time ago because of Dr. Skrbina, because Dr. Skrbina had shouted out my show on Adam Green's show. He said, yeah, we have a show called The Machine Lies. And I'm on Adam Green's show, and Adam Green went and subscribed him. Went and followed me on Twitter. So it's funny. So I was able to
follow him and message him and see what happens.
You can always just tweet to him. Just tag him in a tweet.
Yeah, because I can maybe tag you in a tweet too, like because I follow him and I get his tweets. So if a topic comes up that I think you could relate to, and I could tag you.
Yeah, and even have a debate. That'd be fun. Right-wing Nietzscheanism versus left-wing Nietzscheanism. I had kind of a mini debate like that with somebody on the Crucible Questions, section, of the show, where they were having a debate and somebody had made some comments about Nietzsche. This guy, kind of a metrosexual kind of a guy who like runs some kind of dating website or something. And I came at him. Yeah, it was on Alex PWF or whatever. Yeah.
Playing with Fire.
Yeah, Playing with Fire, which is an interesting title. Very Promethean title for a dating show.
And you also noticed he disappeared.
Yeah, he disappeared, didn't he? Yeah, weird.
Well, we can't let miscreants like that. We have to take out the people that. I'm sorry, never mind. No, I was looking at StreamYard's own collab thing. There's actually a lot of interesting people on there that.
I'm gonna check it out after this. Machine is streaming at in a couple of hours, so y'all can all head over there if you want something to do tonight. It's always a interesting time. And Chris and I might pop on there for a while.
Well, he lost his guest, so like we should go on. Most replace his guest. Will be his his replacement. So
you never know. Yeah, I've been having some new interesting guys come. You know, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a shifting board of characters ever since I started the live
Yeah.
stream. It's never been a consistent group, you know, except for me and NeuroJack. It's never been consistent, but it's always like other people will fall away, but new people will come in and replace them. It's never an empty
Yeah, I've
situation.
noticed that too. I think that's just the panel verse in general.
Really
You have your
weird.
few regulars that stick around after a while, but mostly it's a
Yeah.
shifting cavalcade of characters,
Yeah,
which I
so
love.
yeah, I think that is fascinating, and I think it's just
What you need to do is create a cult, and then they'll stay longer. That's the reason.
yeah.
What all
I
these
need
other people seem to be doing.
yeah, I need to get a I need to get a way to like draw them in. You know, there hasn't been anything where like I'm like, oh yeah, you know, guy, like let's be part of my like thing. You know?
Talk to Jay Dyer and get some tips.
Well, the tip there is create your own theology, really, you know. I mean, if
Well,
I do
I did that. I created my own theology. It hasn't helped me create a cult yet. So I mean, maybe we can work together. We can turn my theology into a cult.
To me, if Jay could do it, any of us could do it. I don't see what people see in him.
Well, I
Charisma.
think it's a little different because he had parents that were in the military and pretty high up in the military. Like they were doing like testing new weapons and stuff. Like I think he said on the Crucible that his dad tested a gun that could shoot like 100 bullets like in a second or something like that. And then like he was on Alex Jones and Gaia TV and all of those types of things.
Gaia TV is such a fucking scam.
Yeah, but I mean, if I had a show on Gaia TV, I mean, I could create a cult like tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. You could. Yeah.
Like it's.
I have to say, I would love to go hang out with the Gaia TV kind of people one time. I mean, probably not more than like 2 or 3 days, but just to go to like Sedona and see like what the fuck is going on would be a very fascinating experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, it's a cult, so yeah, it's gonna be fun. You know, it's probably lots of.
I just want a visitor's pass. I don't want like I don't want the lifetime membership. Yeah.
No, but I mean, you know, you at least get like a day pass to the orgy room, probably. So.
With a sizable donation, yes.
I'm thinking of creating a woman-only cult. You know, so if that
like that Nexium type thing. Yeah, I was saying.
Yeah, something to that effect, where it's all just white girls who follow my orders. You know, so it might just be. So I'm thinking of doing something like that, where if I could get like 5 or 6 of them. Well, no, I'm not specifically interested in having sex with them, but I am interested in them following my directions.
Every command, which sometimes
yeah, something like that. So they could agree to surrender their minds, you know, then I think I could like possibly give them some sort of benefit or improvement in terms of
you just want to give them good head. That's all. You know. You just want to give them good head.
Well, what you want to do is you want to come up with an acronym. What you want to do is you want to come up with the acronym, and you want to make sure that it's catchy like Nexium, but you want to make sure that it's like a pun and play on words. So what you do is HRM, Haram Haram, and then that'll be your cult right there. Take out the vowels.
Yeah. I think I got this idea from Paul Unslaved, because he wanted to create a cult kind of thing where the men share the women, you know, at the top level, you know, or something like that, more of like a Plato's Republic thing. But my whole thing would just be just an organization of just me, you know, and it would just be
right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it would just and it wouldn't be. It would be a, you know,
it'd be a very feminist. I'm sure it'd be a very feminist, a very woman positive thing. You know, it'd be very.
I think it would be. It would just be a bunch of women who follow my general philosophy and therefore you know, support a lot of the you know, little tasks of the things that I mean, I guess I need to accomplish around, and maybe they could spark up little acts of like political intrigue or like spy on people, you know, and
yeah, exactly.
like the Manson cult.
You know, he could have his own little Fang Fang, the Chinese operative, but it'll be you know, the harem girl that would go and like whisper in the ear of powerful men and say, you know, it'd be nice if we just kind of got rid of this technology or something, you know, like that, you know.
some, you know, I mean, or my wife might just come back and then I have to take care of her, you know, so that might just happen. Yeah, so I mean, it might not. I mean, it might not even go down, guys. I mean, who knows, you know?
I mean,
Or I might. Yeah.
I think the best chance at this point of like if your wife is you try to start that, your wife will definitely show up. She'll show up like the next day.
Yeah, that's the best way to get it back.
She won't even know anything about it. It'll just be a coincidence type thing, but it'll be like you already got everything all in order. You're like, you know, like the girls are getting here, they're all on the same flight. You know, you got them coming in, and suddenly your wife's like, knock, knock, knock. You know, it's at the doorstep. And it's like, oh my god, you know.
Of course, now see, then you'll be a master manipulator, and then you'll know the key to solving the world's problems, which is get women to do your bidding by Discordian tactics. There you go.
It just so happens that there's
tactics.
Yeah, it just so happens that there's a readily a group of you know, downtrodden females out there, and you know, they're basically seen as you know, not of value by other white men, you know, so because they're like used up or whatever, you know, but they want a new philosophy in life, you know. So really, I mean, I can just take them over, you know. So, you know, it is what it is at this point. You
Hey
know?
man,
I mean, if it happens, it happens.
If you're into bigger women, you'll find a lot of success there.
Yeah, I'm into bigger women. I'm into bigger women. You know,
we should start
you know, I'm a Punjabi, so you know, I need a little, you know, a little bit thicker, you know, women. You know, I especially like white girls with a little bit more meat on them. You know, that's kind of like you know, it is what it is. You know.
Well, I think we should make a.
Even my wife has said that she thought you were cute. So I mean, like, you know, I mean, like, you know, I'm saying you've got the sex appeal, man. Yeah, you got the way to make it happen. So
yeah, thank you, Chris.
You should create a secret order of knights and call it the Conquistadors, and you'll you know.
It's just.
All right, my bad. Sorry, I was just
Knights of the Oval Table.
Yeah, I was sorry. I was just building up that joke, so I know you guys want to close out, but appreciate it. Thank you.
Knights of the Oval Table, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. Mostly, I'm probably gonna get a bunch of kids with turbans at the mosque or whatever, you know, and you know, they're
Muhammad youth.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta.
Yeah, train yourself a little team of child soldiers, you know.
Well, no, it's not soldiers, but I guess there's a lot of kids that are watching a lot of internet videos. You know,
no, not soldiers. Like let's use a less charged term. Let's call them slaves.
No. No, you should start a new channel. And you can just make it like a Mr. Beast style channel, but you'll call yourself Muhammad Magandhi, and they'll get this whole like.
Yeah, there you go. You got this. Muhammad Magandhi. That is a good one, dude. You know, be combine Buddhism and Islam, and just, you know, be like this, like.
But all you do is just like the big stunt things where you're like, can I fit 10,000 marshmallows in my ass? And you know, and you just do those kind of things, and like, you know, and just,
I think
the Rainbow Jihad, but you're about.
How do you even fit one?
No, I think I think Neuro just came up with the $1 million idea, Muhammad Gandhi, and I think that's gonna be really. I'm just thinking of it right now, like combining like Islamic, like philosophy with like Zen nihilism, and just like have
And
people.
Mr. Beast style stunts. You need the Mr. Beast element to it to
Yeah,
really
you'll
sell
get
it to kids. You know?
you'll get corporate sponsorship for sure. They'll pay for you to fly on the best airplane with a private suite, and they'll even send the the Abramovich style witches on the plane with you, and it'll be
Need,
great.
like fire and like scimitars, like kind of thing,
And something new agey, like some crystals and shit.
yeah, fire, scimitar, crystals,
White women love crystals.
yeah, they really do. Swarovski,
You should have thumbnails like, I gathered 50,000 people here to start a jihad. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I need to put those Swarovski crystals to channel that.
Pumpkin spice latte crystals,
Pumpkin
It would be
spice.
hilarious to do. It actually would be hilarious to do a Mr. Beast parody channel. Just like literally, just take Mr. Beast video ideas and just do like a Muslim Buddhist fight like parody version of it. That should be good comedy in general. That's some good comedy. I don't know how much mileage you get out of it, but that would be. I'm afraid it would be very expensive too. But
props to the white people for the pumpkin spice latte thing. That is actually
yeah. Somebody a long time ago figured they put nutmeg and cinnamon in coffee, and you called it pumpkin spice. White women go crazy for it. So
it's fucking awesome. It does taste great. Just whatever it is.
If you miss it when it's running around, get you some nutmeg, get some cinnamon, and there you go.
Yeah, there's two things that white people invented that, like pumpkin spice and eggnog. I can fuck with that stuff all the time. I love
eggnog is just spiced milk, but yeah.
I love it.
And rum. Yeah,
and the white women flock to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my wife loves eggnog. I used to like it when I was a kid, but I didn't even know it was supposed to have alcohol until I got older. And then I tried it with some with rum, and I was less impressed. I actually like it better with whiskey. It tastes better with whiskey, honestly. Yes, Gary. Yes, all pumpkin spices is mostly cinnamon, nutmeg. So different places do like spice it up in different ways. Some of them actually will dry out some pumpkin and like put some pumpkin shavings into it, but you really can't taste it much. But cinnamon, nutmeg is pumpkin spice. That's all it is. So.
Pumpkin.
I worked in a coffee shop. I know how. I worked at a coffee shop. We made it there. So
pumpkin shaving is a little bit too white for me. I gotta admit.
Base. I love how if you're going to respond to something in these circles, all you have to do is just like get a serious face, go base, and people will just be like,
yeah, I'm gonna start like appropriating that and using it in all the wrong context just to fuck with these people. Like next time Hank calls himself a black gay witch, I'm gonna be like based.
I do that all the time. I do that literally all the time. That's the only way I really use based. Is like whenever I don't know how else to respond, and then like to something, but I want to make a response, I'll just be like base. and I don't know, people eat it up. So
based on Satanism. I'm sorry, I don't want to misrepresent your religion. Don't report me to the woke mob, Larry.
He's not Larry anymore. He's back to Gen X, Jeff.
No, that was the name. They paid. I was on Easy's panel. You could pay to change people's names, and they changed us to the Three Stooges: Larry, Curly, Moe.
You should have. You should have. Who named Andrew Grace Thorpe's lover and father?
Oh, I don't know. That was before I got there.
Oh, I thought maybe he. Or never mind. I'm not gonna say what I was going to say.
No, but somebody
might
paid.
Be a slander.
Yeah.
I've heard of Grace Thorpe, but I don't know who that is.
I don't even want the Thorpes involved on this panel. They're not.
I wasn't gonna go get them involved. I
no, you can look up their story, and that's like I would rather Tommy than any of the Thorpes.
Wow.
It's
Wow,
like
that's
it's
an
like a
endorsement.
shock. It's like shock reality, like
Yeah,
type
it's
of
a
stuff.
Are they
family
the ones
with
that
a
got
father and
like
a
the thing was
daughter, and I'll just leave
her
it at that.
father and her were like I think
Yeah,
yeah
just
okay
not
okay
not
now I
the
know
cut. We machine. I know you got to go stream soon, so we can.
why. Hey, it's been a good stream,
wrap it
guys.
up.
This has been a very
I don't
fun.
want to end on the corpse.
Yeah, bless you guys, and thank you, Chris, for inviting me yesterday. I'm sorry I couldn't come through. I just
I know. You're invited
didn't really-
every day. I just know that sometimes people forget. So like I send little messages out whenever I feel
Right.
like when I get
Yeah,
the vibe.
you're here every day, 7 days a
It
week.
was the
at
first day
2
you
2
came back
p.m.
for a while. You know, you were
Central.
gone for a while. You know, so yeah, so I
Oh
And
yeah,
we're doing
I was in I was in the hospital with my wife for a couple of days and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and so yeah, I was out for a little bit.
and tomorrow we're doing New Year's Eve streams. You can ring in the New Year with us. If you live in the United States time zone, anyway, you can still come hang out with us. But we're gonna ring in every hour.
Okay.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, and then we're gonna be here all day for New Year's. You can come hang out there.
Except
I
in
was
those dimensions in which they don't have a New Year celebration, they use different calendars. So
Yeah, I was thinking of like maybe like playing like music on my channel or something like that.
Well, Chris is gonna do we're gonna have some dancing. He's gonna DJ some of his tunes.
Oh yeah.
For us to.
I've got a
dance to
light
on
set
New
up
Year's
that'll
Eve.
do like all sorts of like rave lights and shit like that. We'll just just jam it out. I've been thinking about doing a weekly type cast thing where I talk about under listened to underseen movies type thing maybe you'd like to come do that with me, Machine Lance. You're into like underground
Yeah,
stuff.
we could do like I'm thinking like I can do like a DJ thing, where we could just play any type of music we want, that we can find on YouTube. But the thing is you just private the stream right after you're done. So you could just go ahead and just play like whatever the fuck you want and then just private it, so you don't get struck with the copyright thing.
Or you private it and then go back and edit out the music and just put a message on screen like music edited out for copyright
It
issues.
sounds like work.
Yeah, it sounds like work.
Well, it just goes, where it's just a stream you just open up where you're, because I think Tommy even did this last night. I got the idea from the Paul and Slave character because he'll do a thing an hour before his show where he'll just play YouTube songs, and he'll just call it warm up. Like, and he'll just play music and then the stream will be gone. He'll just private the stream. So he'll get a bunch of people watching his channel before he starts his actual stream. And then
or we can just go on freaking Rumble. Or I don't think they have much copyright enforcement at all.
Well, it's just if you play a bunch of copyright stuff, you're just not allowed to leave the video up. But they don't mind you doing it because
I'm just saying, I've seen streams on Rumble and stuff like that are like archived and stuff like that have copyright stuff like that. They don't seem to give a shit over there. I don't think anyone's watching them. Odyssey, Rumble, all this.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I can't think of doing it for any other reason other than just the music, because I don't really show copyrighted anything else. Because the rest of it's just people talking. So I don't know because and a lot of my like philosophical like conclusions or whatever I've come to, like other people don't have them. so it's not an issue because people are just like, well, we just don't think that. so they just move on.
Anybody out there see if it'll show up on the thing without the here, let me turn off my freaking background. I got this watch here that like I thought that my mom might want and she didn't want it, and so it's a brand new Lucky Brand watch. I found it in my storage unit. I forgot that I had these things, and like it's just a nice watch. Like I'd be happy to if anybody needs like a late Christmas present or something like that. It's a very nice watch.
Contact Chris if you're interested, or go to his Poshmark.
Some Poshmark. It's just like I'm just like sitting here going through. I have a bunch of watches that I need to fix and stuff like that. I used to do watch repair, another side thing I've done.
Chris took a hammer into a jewelry store and came out with a few extra.
I used to have some wholesaler connections and stuff like that. Like it would be like last season stuff from like Lucky Brand and a few other designers and stuff like that. But I'd get the stuff like in bulk and sell it on Poshmark. I still have a bunch of that stuff that didn't get ruined in the flood. So I've been that's the stuff that's on Poshmark right now. And
by the way, I wanted to say also before we leave to Neuro that Void's streaming our Friday show, so that's pretty nice of him, you know.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, he's streaming it right now, so it's cool. Yeah.
Who is?
Void, who is on the panel, you know.
Voynich.
Yeah, the Dutch guy who was yelling at everybody.
He was a little weird. Yeah, he was a little.
Yeah, he started. Yeah. A lot of that is theatrical, but yeah, he's funny. He gets funny. Yeah.
Machine, you saw that hoodie I showed on stream like a week or so back about like it said like this machine kills fascists. Like, do you want that? You want me to send that to you?
Yeah, I could figure it out, Chris. Yeah, I need to exchange like information with all of you guys, you know, so that
I mean, just come to me in Discord. Like I saved it for you because I thought it was cool I thought it was cool, like a little like thing. It just like I had it forever, and then I was like, hell yeah, I've got this hoodie here. It says this machine kills fascists, you're the machine lies. I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Woody Guthrie.
Yeah, if I figure it out, and then I'll send you a copy of my book too. You know, that'd be cool. You know, and
cool.
other stuff. Yeah,
it's actually not that expensive to mail something like that. I can mail it to you.
We should start
when you get a weight above like 10 pounds. It gets expensive.
We should rage against the machine, and we should send each other snail mail letters every day in order to orchestrate our future streams in a delayed fashion. That's how we're gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, in a month or two, you know, I'm gonna decide, you know, if my wife comes back or not. You know, if she does come back, then I'll have to take care of her for a while, you know,
right,
and just figure out like where we're at. It's going to be a confusing situation and probably a lot of tension there. And but if she doesn't come back, then I'm probably going to go around the country for a while. So I'll probably come and visit you guys. You know, I'll come and
Dude,
I'll try to come visit you guys.
You can stay with me. You can stay with me in Dallas, sure.
Yeah, I'll come through.
I got a room.
I mean, I'll come through to Neuro, to Chris, to Gen X Jeff. You know, we'll come and hang out and you know, do some stuff this year.
I'm working on a live thing right now, so that might be a good thing to plan for. Because
we should. If I come up on you guys, you know, I'm gonna try to convince you guys, like, let's do a live stream together. So like,
I mean IRL live on stage thing.
Yeah, yeah, with like both of us sitting there in the same room, you know, like
with other people too. Yeah, it'd be a big thing.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah.
We'll make a live stream production of Cats or something. No, I'm just joking. Or
we'll call it Dogs.
I was gonna say Rent, but that's a little bit too depressing, right?
Well, depressing is how bad it is.
Did you ever see the movie or the play Rent?
I see both. And like, whether the fucking.
Well, if Machine's in it, we'll have to do hair.
Hair is annoying because they're hippies. I just don't like hippies. But I like
Rosario Dawson.
I love the soundtrack. I have a feeling it's going to be more like Little Shop of Horrors.
She used to be the hottest thing of all.
Rosario Dawson's still hot. She's hot in that movie too. But the main character of Rent,
I don't know anymore.
Annoying, self-absorbed piece of shit character of all time. I can't take him.
Michelle Rodriguez, baby.
Filming things, you know, the filmmaker that has like rich parents but doesn't want to take their money. Oh, I fucking hate that guy.
That song really impresses me just because of.
Man, y'all know more musicals than I do.
4 million.
25,600 minutes.
My wife is literally has a bachelor's degree in theater design and theater technology. Like I'm a musical guy. I love musicals. My daughter is in musical like every other month. Like I am well versed in musicals. I always have been. I haven't seen as many live as I've seen Book of Mormon live. I've seen Wicked live. I've seen a couple others, but But I mean, I love musicals. I grew up liking musicals. Singing in the Rain, still one of my favorite movies. Oklahoma is one of the worst pieces of shit ever made. So that's my like.
You're digging that hole a little deeper there for all the rumors are going to be going around there, Chris.
People make rumors all they want. If they want people to think I'm gay, that's fine. I don't give a shit. I'm not. So like, what people think?
Well,
What
just
they
call
want.
yourself queer.
What's that?
You can just call yourself queer.
Nah, I'm not gonna call myself anything. I don't identify as straight either. I just identify as a dude. I identify as Chris. That's what I identify as. That's what I'll always identify as. If people want to assign a sexuality to me, that's fine. I'm married to a woman. I have no intention of ever stepping outside of my marriage, so that kind of makes it like kind of de facto straight. But whatever.
Well, you never know. People can declare themselves different genders at any time. So
Yeah.
One can only hope that you'll get in line or get out of line, so to speak.
I'm Chris gendered. That's what I am.
Oh, I see the little demon coming out of Gen XF there.
You just seen it now.
Well, I want to see it tonight on the show. That's what I want to see. I want to see you make the.
Well, if the right trolls are there, you just might, because you know how short my patience is with them.
I love to see you take down a troll. It's always a good time.
Yeah, we're gonna have like we're gonna do like cage match events for live stream, and
do like Easy does, and people can pay to watch two people fight on his channel for 5 minutes, and then whoever loses gets voted off the panel. So Machine can have trolls battle and then kick off the one that the audience determines lost. And that would be a good way of getting rid of trolls and getting over this, whatever it is that keeps them on the panel.
2 trolls into a one.
I don't know. They have some kind of like soft spot for troll. I don't get it. They feel bad or guilty when they kick Tommy or Snafu off, and they keep bringing him back on and giving him all these other chances.
Patty, I wasn't trying to give a bunch of gender BS. I was just joking around, just because I don't think of myself in those terms. I never have. I never thought of myself as being gendered. So that's the reason why I said that kind of thing. It's not like I'm not trying to be like non-binary or whatever like that. Don't worry. I just consider myself just myself. I just don't think of myself as a straight man or whatever. I just don't think of myself through that lens. I never have. I am technically a straight man, but I mean, I just don't think of it like that way. Okay. I just want to make sure I was clear on that. All right. So I guess we're wrapping up. Hey, we had 3 hours. Good stream today, guys. And thanks so much for coming by, Machine. It's always great to see you.
And a specific shout out to Patty. You don't know how glad I am to see you back.
Yeah, I know.
You're a good omen, and things feel normal having you back.
It really does. It really does. It's a Christmas miracle as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Patty was one of our very first viewers and supporters, and so there's some stability in seeing her.
Makes me feel good. It does. It really does. And anyway, so when does your stream start? It's for Central Time, Machine.
7:30. So
7:30. Okay, so I just want to know so I can make sure I can try to show up for it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
because I always get confused.
Yeah, a little maybe hour-long presentation. I gave so many presentations.
Good to see you, Gary. Maybe we'll see you. We'll be here tomorrow. I tried to get high on Nutmeg once because I had a book that said that you could.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I ate a bunch of it. Yeah,
they said it was like ecstasy. It was like MDMA.
Yeah, it didn't work that way yet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forget all that. The best way to find out when we stream every day at 2, but every now and then we do additional streams outside of that. So the best way to know when we're on is to subscribe, because then YouTube should alert
And the more you thumbs up it, the more it shows on the algorithm for other people.
So just only like it if you actually like it, but tell your friends.
Like it. But it's free. That's the way I always think of it. I thumbs up. I thumbs up and like a lot of streams that I'm not easily, but I figure like it doesn't cost me anything. So if I just subscribe to them or something like that, that'd be one thing. But I mean, it's like pay money for it. So anyway, guys, and if you are a premium subscriber, I know I actually saw this thing that said that if you're a premium subscriber, a premium subscriber that to YouTube that likes or subscribes to a thing, it counts like 10 times what it does if.
Really?
Yeah. So if you're a premium subscriber, they like or subscribe to your stream, it means like a lot more in the algorithm. Yeah. So you make more when there's monetization involved.
We appreciate y'all anyway, premium or not, but I guess the algorithm.
Yeah, I found out the other day from what's his name, the spiffing Brit or spiffing Brit. I can't remember. He does a lot of videos where he does things that break YouTube. He's cool, man. He figures out loopholes in like YouTube and shows how to exploit them, and then like they patch them because of it. But like it's really cool the way he like figures out these like loopholes in terms of how to like create endless ad revenue if you look for like the right loopholes. He's like a pen tester for like YouTube, I guess, to a degree, but he's cool. Anyway, good night.
Good night, everyone. Hop over to machines in a few hours, and we might catch you there. Otherwise,
it's been surreal as usual.
Tomorrow for the last day of the new year. Come ring in the year with us.
Come help us murder 2023 once and for all. Because like, goddamn, this year I fucking hated it.
Yeah, murder party.
This year was hell on earth. Yes, this was.
We need to create like a Wicker Man type thing, but fill it with like some jelly or something like that we can beat the shit out of it, and it feels like it's.
We'll figure it out. All right. Well, I'll see you in church, everyone.
See you in church.
Yeah, bless you guys. Peace. Thank you.